Chapter 806, Summer Palace. The burning bright sun, the blooming sea of flowers, the vibrantly growing plants, the thunderstorms that came and left suddenly. It really was summer. Zhuemo and the others tried to find a way out of the sea of flowers and the forest. Occasionally, rain would pour down on them and soak them completely. However, with their strength, this was like taking a sightseeing tour. The bright sun, the scent of fragrant flowers, the babbling flow of water. There was no danger. They didn't even encounter one large animal, much less any poison miasma or mist. Yet after 20 hours had passed and they still hadn't found a way out, everyone understood that this sea of flowers and trees were not as wonderful as imagined. So hot, someone couldn't help but complain. The sun was bright like fire. Even though the branches of the trees, the burning heat still made people feel uncomfortable. Zhuemo's mind moved. He also felt a wave of relentless heat. He had not noticed it and he only realized a problem when he heard someone complain. With their strength, they should not feel cold or heat. Why would they feel hot? There was something strange. Raising his head to look at the sun in the sky, Zhuemo frowned and called everyone to a stop. This is not right. We have walked for 20 hours, covering at least 700 li, but there are still no signs we are getting out. This sun is also very strange. Everyone feels the heat. Let's talk and see if we can find anything. Zhuemo threw out the problem. Zhongru suddenly opened his eyes. The sun is problematic. Everyone's eyes immediately turned towards Zhongru. Zhongru's sixth sense was unparalleled in its sensitivity. If he said there was a problem, then there was a problem. Zhongru's expression was grave as he slowly said, "Within the light of the sun, there is a kind of power similar to wish power." Wish power? Everyone changed expressions in fear. Just the term was enough to make their hairs stand on end. The wish power of the Diana Xiao had always been a very mysterious power. The descriptions of wish power were usually along the lines of malicious. Among the many methods of the Diana Xiao that admired righteousness and honesty, wish power was special. It was innately a malicious power. In the understanding of many people, wish power was like a toxin. Zhongru cultivated wish power, and the rare Buddha abandoning death wish at that. This was not a secret in Mo Cloud Sea, but usually, people did not see Zhongru use wish power. When they heard Zhongru say that the sunlight contained a power similar to wish power, everyone's expressions changed. No one wanted to touch that strange power. Zhongru continued, "However, this power is very weak and hard to detect." Zhuemo, Wei Sheng, and the others closed their eyes to feel it. Zhuemo quickly found it. As expected, there was a very weak wisp of a strange power within the strong sunlight. This wisp of power was unique. It could ignore the defenses of Shen equipment and permeate the body. Zhuemo sank his mind into his body. A short while later, he found that weak wish power inside his body. The wish power was extremely weak. If he was not focused on finding it, it most likely would be hard to discover. And it was this weak wish power that made him feel relentless heat. So strong. Zhuemo was alarmed. The danger of wish power could be seen from how it had penetrated his body without him knowing it. He channeled Shen power and tried to force the wish power inside his body out. But unexpectedly, no matter how he channeled wish power, that thin thread did not move. It sat motionlessly in his body. Zhuemo gritted his teeth. The sun Shen power inside his body wrapped around the wish power. When the sun Shen power twisted with the wish power, it was unable to immediately burn away the wish power. The burning process was extremely slow. It took 20 breaths before that hair-thin strand of wish power in his body was burned away. Zhuemo was shocked. When he opened his eyes, he saw that Wei Xingxixiang's expression was similarly grave. Age, Seng Lianer and Luo Li were all right, the little ones were fine, but the guards were helpless against the wish power. "Let me try." Zhongru's expression was grave. His wish power was unlike the wish power from the sun. Zhongru's wish power was gray, and the wish power in the sunlight was a flaming red. Zhongru's wish power entered the body of a guard and rapidly charged towards the red wish power to quickly consume it. Very soon, The wish power in each of the guard's body was completely eliminated and the red lotus flower on Zhong Ru's forehead became even brighter. How do you feel? Zuoremo asked in concern. Zhong Ru gave a warm smile. With the similarities to wish power, it is of great benefit to me. Darren, do not worry. Zuomo's worries were eased. Since Zhong Ru was here, then this wish power was not a problem. He thought and then said, we will fly rather than walk. This way, it will not be easy to get lost. Before, they had been worried that flight would attract powerful monsters, so they had walked. After walking for more than 20 hours, they didn't know where they were anymore. This made Zuoremo decide to fly. The group flew into the sky. There was a vibrant forest under them that stretched out endlessly in their view. What made Zuoremo feel safe was that they had not encountered any strong monsters. But after flying for more than 80 hours and traveling for almost 10,000 li, there was still no end to the flowers and forests. What shocked Zuoremo and the others was the light of the sun was much more poisonous in the sky. Every 4 hours, everyone had to land and have Zhong Ru help extract the wish power out of them. The red lotus on Zhong Ru's forehead became even brighter. Accompanied by his caved-in face, it was eerie. Zhong Ru's pupils became even deeper. Ever since he achieved wish power, his wish power had never grown. Wish power was unlike Ling or Shen power. It could not be cultivated and was closer to an abhina. But in the span of these few days, after consuming the wish power in everyone's bodies, his wish power had more than doubled. A gray mist twisted in his sea of consciousness. What a ghastly place! Zuoremo looked around. We've flown for so long and still hasn't left this forest. Are we in an illusory formation? Illusory formation? The ghost mist child asked curiously, what is that? You don't know what an illusory formation is? Zuoremo examined the ghost mist child with slight disbelief. Pu Yao spoke at this time. There were no illusory formations in the ancient era. No illusory formations during the ancient era? This time, it was Zuomo's turn to be shocked. No way. For him, illusory formations were one of the most basic skills, a minor skill that everyone should know of. Of course, if it was a powerful illusory formation, it would be a troublesome matter. Illusory formations only appeared after Ling power, this is common knowledge. Pu Yao would not pass on any chance to attack Zuoremo and said this with disdain. The ghost mist child stood in the middle with puzzlement. Seeing this, Zuoremo created an illusory formation as an example. The ghost mist child finally realized it and then said scornfully, using tricks like this to fool people are useless. Zuoremo was furious and then he pointed at the forest below. Then you tell me what this forest is? Ignorant. Pu Yao couldn't help but mock. Your knowledge only extends to illusory formatons. The skills of ancient warriors are those you cannot imagine. If I'm not wrong, this has formed into a jie. Or this was originally a jie and it was then modified. Zuoremo was dumbstruck. He stammered out, you're saying, this is actually a new jie? Yes. Pu Yao's eyes were filled with longing. The ancient warriors could steal the sky and snatch the sun, pluck stars and change the moon. This jie should have been changed. This speculation was a great blow to Zuomo's mind. He had met the strange Shi in the sealed extinction battlefield and thought he had a certain level of understanding of the greatness of the ancient ones. Now, he found that he had underestimated the strength of the ancient great ones. However, the ghost mist child should have more of a say in this matter. Zuoremo immediately turned around and looked at the ghost mist child. The summer palace is a jie? The ghost mist child nodded. It should be. The previous master liked creating spectacles and hated things that fooled others. He had been the warrior of a tribe before and was knowledgeable. He raised his head to look at the sun and said uncertainly, I don't know where master got this sun from. If the people from the Sun tribe saw this, they would be jealous. This forest is probably something special as well. Zuoremo gaped as he listened. With a jie as a palace, to set up a sun, to create an endless forest. This was inhuman. In comparison, the so-called restricted grounds of the present large sects were just child's play. Suddenly, Lil Black, who had been hanging of silly bird, waved its antennae. Zhuamo's eyes immediately lit up. When Lil Black usually did this, it meant that there was treasure nearby. As expected, Lil Black slid down Silly Bird's body and then started to fly in a direction. Zhuamo called out and then hurriedly followed. Lil Black was very fast and nimble. Zhuamo and the others had to be alert as they followed closely behind. After flying about 20 li, Lil Black finally stopped and landed on a piece of scorched wood. Zhuamo was slightly surprised and then curiously examined the piece of wood. This wood was clearly old. Half of it was buried in the ground and half exposed to the air. The wood should have been the trunk of a large tree, about 3 chi in diameter. It was covered in lichen and looked very normal. Lil Black was holding on tightly to the wood in intoxication. Was there something special about the wood? Zhuamo was even more curious. He walked over and reached out to prepare to brush off the lichen growing on the wood. When Zhuamo's hand touched the lichen, suddenly, an arch of electricity flashed and struck out at his fingertips. His hand went numb. Lightning. The green lichen contained such a great amount of lightning. He tried to put his hand on the lichen. As expected, another arc of lightning hit his hand. Interesting. It was the first time he had encountered lichen that contained such a great amount of lightning. This was much more than what was in his sonic lightning walnuts. While he did not know the use of the green lichen, he felt that this thing would definitely have wondrous uses. He took out a jade box and carefully gathered all the green lichen on the wood. The wood's appearance was gradually revealed. Chapter 807, Coral Fire Perch. The surface of the wood was black as though it had been scorched by fire. It was black and did not appear special. Zhuamo looked at Lil Black, who was the same color, and couldn't help but mutter inside, "You're holding on so tightly, is it because you found something as black as you?" However, when the wood was in his hand, Zhuamo shook. A burning presence burrowed into Zhuamo's hand. Even though Zhuamo possessed the Sun Shen flame, he couldn't help but shake. Only when he started to channel Shen power did this burning presence only halved. Having learned the lesson, he wrapped Shen power around his hand before carefully grabbing the tree trunk. The section that was buried under was longer than Zhuamo imagined. It took Zhuamo some effort to pull the entire piece of wood out of the soil. The tree trunk was about twice the height of a person and about a third of it was burnt. The burnt part had most likely been struck by lightning. Zhuamo could clearly feel a great amount of lightning and fire energy. It was so abundant it was almost unimaginable. Zhuamo suspected that this part of the trunk was crystallized by lightning and fire energy, containing extremely pure lightning and fire energy that existed in a wondrous balance. The green lichen had changed into the lightning green lichen as a result of growing on the tree trunk for a long time and absorbing the lightning energy of the trunk. When Zhuamo dug out the entire tree and wiped away the surface layer of soil, everyone else watching inhaled sharply. The part of the trunk that was not burnt was as warm and as transparent as crystal. It was possible to see thick twisted red veins inside that filled the inner space of the wood. It was like a coral. A burning presence emanated from it. What is this? The black gold seal soldier curiously crowded over. Zhuamo shook his head. I don't know. He turned to ask the ghost Miss Child. Do you recognize it? The ghost Miss Child said with slight hesitation, it should be coral wood. Coral wood? The black gold seal soldier's eyes were wide, and something glittering could be seen at the corner of his mouth. Just that name, it sounds as though it would taste delicious. I really want to eat coral wood. Zhuamo frowned. He remembered that the sun gold leaf had mentioned this. Coral wood, jade-like material, a coral-like fire inside. It was a rare and precious fire-type material. Fire. Zhuamo's Shen power was uncontrollably channeled in. Boom! The wood suddenly sprouted red flames that made everyone jump in fright. Zhuamo frowned instead. Such a strange flame. Unlike his Sun Shen flame, the flame inside the coral wood was as red as coal but silent. It was a pity that it was not suited to him. His flame was domineering and fierce and completely different from the fire of the coral wood. He remembered that the sun gold leaf had said that this item was most suited for a wasteland beast and could help them grow. Wasteland beast. Zuomo's gaze swept across everyone and then landed in the end on Silly Bird. His eyes lit up. This one could count as a phoenix now. Her flame was unlike his, and coral wood would be a suitable pairing. Phoenixes perched on parasol trees. There were no parasol trees, but this coral wood was perfect. Zuomo considered it and then arrived at a decision. His hand was like a knife that cut the coral wood into two. The part that contained lightning energy was split off. The lightning and fire energies in this part of the wood had completely merged together after coexisting for tens of thousands of years. The other section of the coral wood was about the height of a man. It was jade-like to the touch. A dark red coral grew throughout the transparent tree trunk. People had to marvel at the wonders of creation. Zuomo closed his eyes and thought. A long while later he opened his eyes. His fingers were like knives that quickly started to carve on the coral wood. Scraps of clear wood flew. The black gold seal soldier who was watching eagerly did not wait for them to land on the ground before sucking them into his mouth with a content expression. About an hour later, the round trunk was covered in patterns. "This is a totem pole?" The ghost mist child asked uncertainly. He had never seen many of the patterns on this totem pole. "It isn't." Zuomo shook his head. "I used some of the totem pole methods. What should this be considered as?" Zuomo was slightly uncertain. The other people did not understand what Zuomo intended, but Silly Bird's eyes suddenly lit up. She seemed to feel that was a ball of fire inside the round wood that was resonating with the fire inside her. Zuomo shook his head. It was not important what this thing was, but rather if it was useful or not. He beckoned at Silly Bird. "Silly Bird, stand on it and try." If this was another day, Silly Bird would proudly ignore Zuomo if he called her Silly Bird or glare angrily. But today, without a word, her wings spread and she flew onto the coral wood. Once Silly Bird landed onto the coral wood, boom, dark red flames suddenly erupted out of the wood pillar. Silly Bird felt indescribably comfortable and sang a high note. Boom! The fire expanded. The red flames shot into the sky. An astounding wave of air gusted in all directions. Zuomo, Wei Xing, and a few others were unaffected, but the guards were unable to keep their places, bam bam bam, and were forced to retreat a few steps. However, Wei Xing, Zhongru, and the others changed expressions slightly. It seemed as though they saw an enormous ancient phoenix bathing in the fire of the wood. Amongst the raging flames, its proud posture could be seen. With its high-pitched cries, all beasts bowed. Silly Bird's phoenix flame and the dark red flames of the coral wood merged perfectly. The seal scripts and shinjilpas on the pillar were unusually beautiful in the brightness of the flames. Other than the seal scripts, the most important thing on the pillar was the sun shin glyph. The sun shin glyph was the one that Zuomo was most familiar with. While it was not a perfect match to the attributes of the coral wood, the wood was one of the rare materials that could support shin glyphs. Zuomo used a compromise, the sun shin glyph as the core, all kinds of fire formations on the surface to form a completely separate and complete little fire formation group. This round pillar did not look any different from totem poles, but the two were completely different things. Seal pole? This name was not glorious enough. Zuomo immediately refused it. After thinking for a while, he decided to call it the coral fire perch. It had to be said that Zuomo's design was rational. The fire contained inside the coral fire perch was completely uncovered. Silly Bird could absorb the flames while perching on it. When fighting, this would be also of help. Her phoenix flame would at least increase in power by half. With its solitary dance of the great dark wheel phoenix, together, Silly Bird had the power to fight against the wasteland beasts of the ancient times. Thinking that he had another super-powered sidekick, Zuomo was extremely proud. As expected, regardless of the time, equipment was the most important. Having had a taste, Zuomo started to calculate his other gains. Rain banner, thunder source hammer, remnant of a skunda staff, green pulse string, all the parts of the ancient octopus. All of these were good materials. The rain commanding banner and the thunder source hammer were also undamaged, but were exhausted of their power, so they did not retain their ancient power. However, their construction was extraordinary and just the materials were very good. There was still a lingering presence of a Diana Xiao on the remnant of the Skanda staff. However, what was most useful was the material. It was made from the very rare 10,000 profound copper source gilded with crimson fire gold flow. It was extremely hard, but at the same time, the difficulty in forging was high. However, for Zue Mo, who possessed the Sun Shen fire, this was not a problem. The green pulse strand was a powerful talisman, a treasure formed in the world. Zue Mo had not thought of any ways to forge it. Most importantly was that Shen glyph that Zue Mo called Green Pulse. It possessed great power. Only after completely comprehending the Green Pulse Shen glyph could he truly express the power of the Green Pulse string. Zue Mo had never had the bad habits of the forgers from the big sections. It was normal for him to adjust his designs to the materials he had on hand. After some thought, he had a new idea. He took out all of the good materials from his ring and piled it up in front of him. He called over Zhong Ru and had him try to see which kind of material could hold wish power. Wish power was a very strange power. Zue Mo's understanding of it was pitiful, so he decided for Zhong Ru to try them one by one. Zhong Ru understood that Zue Mo was planning to forge a talisman for him and was moved. However, his control over his emotions had reached a great level and his expression remained calm. He did as Zue Mo said and tried the items. His eyes suddenly lit up when he touched the eyes of the ancient octopus. This item is usable. Zue Mo's worries were immediately eased. In his view, Zhong Ru had wish power and Shen power, two completely different powers. It would be a pity if he could not enhance any one of the two. He had been worried before since there were no materials suitable for Zhong Ru. The cross Vajragata could not express his strength at this point. The two eyes of the ancient octopus had turned to stone already. They were black and bright on the surface and had shrank by a third of its size. However, for a talisman, it was still too large. Zue Mo did not know much about many of Zhong Ru's skills, so Zhong Ru decided to forge a general talisman nucleus and then have Zhong Ru continue to perfect it. This undoubtedly tested the skill of the forger. Even Zue Mo had to seriously consider for a while before he decided to act. The first step was to forge the two eyes of the octopus. With the Sun Shen fire and the Phoenix flame, it only took half of a day. Zue Mo forged the two eyes until they were about the size of a fist. After forging the octopus eyes, they were black and reflective. If one met the eyes, they would unconsciously be attracted and their consciousness sinking into them. As expected of a guy that had lived for tens of thousands of years. Zue Mo's confidence multiplied. Thunder Source Hammer, the damaged Skanda staff, half of the coral wood, the incense fireling wish beads. A pile of valuable materials flowed through Zue Mo's hands. Zue Mo had gained the incense fireling wish beads as spoils of victory after killing Ji Zheng. The other treasure, the nether reincarnation lotus, had always been used on a ge. After forging for 3 full days, this Shen device finally took form. This was a very strange 3-flanged max. Inside one flange was a transparent red bead about the size of a fist that floated peacefully. Inside the bead, there was a hammer that flickered in and out of view among the electricity. In another flange, there were 2 beautiful black beads that spun constantly like 2 playing fish. In the last flange, 7 incense fireling wish beads floated up and down in the mist of the incense. Even though Zhong Ru's mind was as still as water, he couldn't help but stop breathing when he saw this 3-flanged staff. 1. Obtained in Chapter 678. Ji Jingfanshu of Tianhuan Temple. First mentioned in Chapter 664, and appearing in Chapter 665 where he is on a mission to assassinate Xiao Emogo with Dai Tao. Described as a stereotypical Diana Xiao, with a shaved head, prayer beads, and monk robes. Chapter 808. Descendant of Greenvine Zhong Ru caressed the 3-flanged Skanda staff and didn't maintain the mannerisms of a Diana expert at all. Zue Mo was satisfied with this 3-flanged Skanda staff as well. Among all of his works, this 3-flanged Skanda staff was near the top. Other than the high-level materials used in its design, the forging method and the designs were both outstanding. The most unique part about it was that Zue Mo had left it partially incomplete. This design could be gradually perfected by Zhongru so that the item would be better suited to him. This also gave him a new way of thinking. In the past, talismans were completely forged by forgers, and then the user would gradually learn to use it. But for top experts, their understanding of battle far surpassed forgers. This new idea, finishing the framework and then let the user perfect it. The talismans that formed would be more fitting to the needs of the user. There was no big meaning in pursuing the power of a talisman above all else. Zhou Mo, who was experienced in combat, knew that talismans suited to the user were the best talismans, not the ones that were most powerful. Zhou Mo named this three-flanged Skanda staff as the Three Manifestations Treasure Staff. Zhou Mo didn't have any plans about the remaining materials and of the people here, only Luo Li didn't have a good talisman. However, when he thought about Luo Li's eerie, life-death lock cultivation method, Zhou Mo had a headache. That spell was truly too eerie and hard to predict. After some methods from the Undying Shin power had been added, the life-death lock became even harder to understand. Even Zhou Mo, who had seen numerous Shin methodologies, could not understand. Much less forge a talisman for Luo Li. Fortunately, Luo Li did not care about this at all. He stayed close to Luo Li every day and the world did not exist in his eyes. Ague had the Undying Ghost. Eldest Xixiang had the God-killing blood sword. Luo Li did not need anything. Zhongru now had the Three Manifestations Treasure Staff. Even Silly Bird now had the Coral Fire Perch. In the end, Zhou Mo was the one with nothing. However, after remember that he had the Green Pulse String and the Anti-Dragon Claw, Zhou Mo threw the problem to the back of his mind. He would first have to think about how to get out of the Summer Palace before anything else. They had flown for more than a dozen days. According to their travel speed, they should have traveled over 10,000 miles. Yet there was still not an end to the forest. This was not a good sign. However, the Ghost Mist Child dismissed it. He said that it was fast for the people that entered the 4 palaces in the past to come out in 2 months. Only then did everyone feel slightly reassured. The most patient one was Zhongru. He held the Three Manifestation Treasure Staff in his hand and used the staff to absorb wish power from the sunlight in the past few days. The 2 black octopus eyes turned blacker like 2 holes of empty space that floated in the air. On their way, they did not encounter any more treasures like the coral wood. The sun was still poisonous. However, with the help of the Three Manifestation Treasure Staff, the wish power in the sunlight was unable to harm them. After walking for 3 days, there was still no end to the forest. Zhou Mo suddenly felt that the scene in front of them seemed to be familiar. He frowned and threw out for a long time. He finally remembered where he had seen this before, the Sun Shen Temple. The Greenwood secret realm that Big Brother Qing Lin guarded, wasn't that very similar to this scene here? Was it? His mind moved, and during rest time, he carefully reread the Jade Scroll that Big Brother Qing Lin had left him. There were many things recorded in this Jade Scroll, including the secret, Green Vine Shin methodology of the Green Vine tribe. Qing Lin had hoped that Zhou Mo could encounter the descendants of the Green Vine tribe and let them inherit this scroll. Seeing the item reminded him of the person. Seeing of the warm and welcoming expression of Big Brother Qing Lin, Zhou Mo felt a wave of sadness. As he thought of Big Brother Qing Lin's last request, searching for the remains of his tribe. But despite his efforts, Zhou Mo felt even more guilty having no success. He had sent many people to the place that Qing Lin had marked on the Jie map in search of the Green Vine tribe. However, that place was now a desert and void of people. Because he cultivated Sun Shin power, Zhou Mo did not learn the Green Vine Shin methodology. He only read it occasionally. This time, he read it seriously and many parts he had not noticed before were found. For example, he actually found the green pulse string mentioned in the scroll. This strange thing was a treasure that the Green Vine tribe dreamed about. If they could cultivate the Green Vine Shin methodology, to a high degree, they did not need to refine the green pulse string in order to use it effectively. Naturally, Zhou Mo could not cultivate the Green Vine Shin methodology to such a great level. However, when he saw that one who cultivated the Green Vine Shin methodology could easily move and navigate through forests, he was overjoyed. He did not hope for many benefits from cultivating the Green Vine Shin methodology. He would thank the heavens if he could get out of this endless forest. If Qing Lin learned that Zhuo Mo began cultivating the green vine Shen methodology, just for its use in finding his way through a forest, he would climb out of his grave. While the Green Vine tribe had not dominated like the Sun tribe, it had been a large first-class tribe. The Green Vine Shen methodology was something many tribes were jealous of. It was not difficult for Zhuo Mo to cultivate the Green Vine Shen methodology. He had a droplet of green vine mystical water in his body. This precious mystical water had helped him countless times. When he had encountered Qing Lin, Zhuo Mo's understanding of Shen methodology had been pitifully low. He had been ignorant of many basic details. The present Zhuo Mo had progressed far beyond that and knew much more about Shen power. There were no obstacles in learning the Green Vine Shen methodology. A green energy floated onto Zhuo Mo's eyes. Countless feelings came from all directions like the tide through the forest. Suddenly, a familiar feeling came from deep within the forest. Was that? Zhuo Mo's heart shook. Unhesitatingly, he stood and flew in a direction. The other people saw this and knew that Zhuo Mo definitely had made a discovery. They followed closely behind. The further he flew, the more the familiar feeling from the forest grew. Zhuo Mo's eyes became even brighter. The vibration from the forest seemed to feel Zhuo Mo's existence and was furiously flying in his direction. When a green shadow flashed through the forest, Zhuo Mo's heart suddenly became excited and he did not hesitate to give chase. A thin and weak figure was jumping through the forest nimbly. A head full of verdant green hair reached his waist and danced in the wind. It was a young boy of about 15. Suddenly, Zhuo Mo seemed to see that familiar, elegant and tall figure with flying green hair in the Sun Shen temple. The little boy's eyes were like black opals. He warily examined Zhuo Mo, puzzlement flashing through his eyes. The stranger in front of him gave him a feeling of closeness. "Who are you?" The young boy was slightly wary, but he was not afraid. He stared with his opal black eyes at Zhuo Mo. His clothing was woven from the vines of the forest, and the skin exposed to the air was tanned. Zhuo Mo. Zhuo Mo's lips couldn't help but curve. The familiar vibrations coming off the child made him overjoyed. "What are you called?" "I am Qing Xiao." The boy seemed to feel Zhuo Mo's friendliness and his wariness eased greatly. Zhuo Mo suppressed the excitement he felt. "You are from the Green Vine tribe?" You too?" Qing Xiao immediately had an excited expression and he looked with anticipation at Zhuo Mo. Zhuo Mo smiled and flicked his finger. A dot of green flew out of his finger and turned into a green vine. "I can do that." Qing Xiao was very happy. He copied Zhuo Mo in flicking a finger. A green vine of light uncoiled like a snake. Green Vine Shen methodology. Zhuo Mo was full of emotion. Was there really fate? In the end, he had not failed to fulfill what Big Brother Qing Lin had requested. "Take us to your home, all right?" Zhuo Mo said in a soft tone. "All right," Qing Xiao said happily. He immediately turned into a green shadow that shot out. Zhuo Mo and the others hurriedly followed. A short while later, a small treehouse appeared in front of everyone. The treehouse was built on top of a 1,000-year-old tree. There were many old vines hanging down. Qing Xiao was like monkey that grabbed a vine and flipped into the little treehouse. He said happily, "We're home." Zhuo Mo looked around and asked in bewilderment, "Where's everyone else? Don't you live with your clansmen?" Qing Xiao's expression dimmed. "I'm the only one left. Everyone died." "Died?" Zhuo Mo was stunned. "The sun is poisonous." Qing Xiao's expression recovered as he showed a bright smile and white teeth. "However, I'm not afraid, I will definitely find a solution." Zhuo Mo felt sorrow, but he was used to seeing life and death, so he did not lose his composure. After a moment he recovered. He rubbed Qing Xiao's head. "No matter, I have a solution." Zhong Ru reached out with the 3 manifestation treasure staff and tapped lightly on Qing Xiao. Threads of wish power crept out of Qing Xiao's body like mist and were sucked into the 2 black balls. Qing Xiao's eyes were wide and filled with curiosity. His body felt warm and unspeakably comfortable. It really worked." Qing Xiao suddenly sat, touching his head and then his body. His clever and energetic appearance made them want to smile. Zuo felt even greater affection for the innocent Qing Xiao. He said, "Qing Xiao, how about coming along with Big Brother? The sun outside isn't poisonous." "All right." Qing Xiao nodded. "I'm very bored here alone. Big Brother is a good person." Zuo heard this and smiled. He was also very happy. "Since you say Big Brother is a good person, Big Brother will have to express this?" "What is express this?" Qing Xiao looked curiously at Zuo. "Close your eyes and channel Shen power," Zuo said. Qing Xiao acknowledged this, obediently closing his eyes and channeling his Shen power. Zuo reached out a finger. A drop of water fell from his fingertip to land on Qing Xiao's forehead and then disappeared. Qing Xiao explained. His face soon turned green. Green vine mystical water. Zuo was now giving the green vine mystical water that Big Brother Qing Lin had given him to Qing Xiao. The green vine mystical water had many benefits, but for the present Zuo, there were no great uses. However, for Qing Xiao, it was of great benefit. Moments later, Qing Xiao opened his eyes joyfully. Green vine mystical water. "I know this. This is green vine mystical water." Zuo was unspeakably happy. He asked with a smile, "Big Brother also has something else to give you." As he spoke, he took off the green pulse string on his wrist and tied it on Qing Xiao's wrist. The ghost Miss Child's eyes were wide in disbelief. Green pulse string. That was green pulse string. Qing Xiao was both excited and curious as he swung the green pulse string. It had to be said that the green pulse string was a natural match for the green vine tribe. In just a short while, the green pulse string seemed to come alive on Qing Xiao's hand. The green pulse string was powerful, but in Zuo's hands, it could not be used to its greatest power. In Zuo's hands, the greatest value of the green pulse string was the green pulse, Shin glyph. Zuo's heart was unusually calm and he seemed to understand. The last wishes of Big Brother Qing Lin had been a burden on his mind. After this burden was resolved, he felt relaxed as though a great weight had been taken off. His mentality had went a level further and became even more understanding. Chapter 809, Danger Mo Cloud C. Hong Xiao carefully finished reading the report from her subordinate. She appeared as though she was trying to see something from the report. Her subordinates didn't dare to make a sound. The higher-ups had directly made Hong Xiao one of the two chief managers. For the subordinates, they only had one choice: submit. Also, Hong Xiao had been in charge of an underground power, Red Snapped Silk, before, and naturally could not avoid having an additional viciousness and brutality. After a short while, she had earned the complete respect of this group of people. No wonder she could be the chief steward. She wasn't just a little bit strong. There had always been rumors between them that the two chief stewards were competing amongst themselves by managing their two separate groups. This rumor was plausible and even Chief Steward Hong Xiao never refuted it. For these people, their own benefits were more important than anything else. Profit and their position were what they were most concerned about. The existence of a competitor greatly increased the unity of their group. This was to join against a common enemy. It was the first time Hong Xiao showed such a serious expression. The subordinates speculated inside and exchanged looks. Hong Xiao's gaze was serious. This report, on the surface, did not have any unusual content, but the experience Hong Xiao felt a hint of danger. She was very satisfied with her present days. She was not like Zhang Lingshui. She had lived more than a decade in the darkness. She knew that it was a blessing her family was still alive. The other had too many ways of controlling her. Her hands were drenched with blood and she was familiar with those terrifying methods. Unlike Zhang Lingshui, who resisted, she had unhesitatingly agreed to her captor's demands. She had been very unaccustomed to this completely new lease on life. There was no darkness, everything was done in the open. The higher-ups did not restrict her from using any methods. However, unless it was against some truly despicable enemies, she rarely used any methods of the darkness. This was a completely new life, a completely new world. She was very satisfied, especially when she saw her son's innocent smile. When she thought of how he would have a good future, Hope formed in her chest. This gave her new motivation. She treasured this opportunity, treasured this difficult change, and because of it, she was unusually hardworking. She would definitely not lose to Ling Shui. Her work had proceeded smoothly. The support behind her was strong so that she had enough advantages in the market when she started. For Hong Xiao, who was used to working hard to gather weight in the darkness, her work could be described as easy. But to her, who had been in the darkness for a long time, she had an unusual intuition about danger. "Give me last month's supplier prices," she said coldly. The subordinates quickly searched. Last month's accounts quickly appeared on the mirage. Green flower wood, sky star sand, rainbow dew. "Who is the supplier for these three materials?" she asked rapidly. The subordinates were busy for a while. Moments later, they reported, "It is Bright Capital Business Association. In the past, it was Lin Fu Business Association. Bright Capital Business Association's price is 15% higher than Lin Fu Business Association." Hong Xiao stared at her subordinate's face. The subordinate explained, "Lin Fu Business Association has stopped working with us for a month and has refused to communicate with us. In order to avoid our supply chain breaking, we choose Bright Capital Business Association. Bright Capital Business Association is located far away, and the cost of transporting is much higher. Also, due to the suddenness of the order, they are not prepared. Our order is large, and the timing is urgent, so they had to raise the price in order to complete the purchase." "Why did Lin Fu Business Association stop working with us?" Hong Xiao suddenly asked. "I don't know." The subordinates shook their head. "They do not seem to be very stable internally. We cannot interfere in this kind of matter." "Go investigate," Hong Xiao said briskly. "That is not very appropriate." The subordinate was conflicted. It was an unspoken taboo in the mercantile circles to interfere in the matters of other businesses. "All right." Hong Xiao did not try to force the subordinate and said, "You may leave." "Yes." The subordinate sighed in relief and hurriedly retreated. Hong Xiao did not leave. She focused and thought for a while before deciding to report the matter, adding on her own speculations and suggestions. While the conclusion had not yet come out, she knew someone was acting against them. "Go investigate," she suddenly said. In the dark corner, an imperceptible shadow disappeared. Those subordinates cared too much about convention when working. For an experienced hand like her that had lived for many years in the world of the shadows, she only cared about results. The methods were not important. She believed that the higher-ups also thought this. Ling Shui's delicate brow creased as she listened to the report of the subordinate. Ling Shui worked hard. After being given a scare, she didn't dare to play any more tricks. Also, after the initial terror, she gradually adjusted to her new work. She quickly found that the strength of the faction was so great it was unimaginable. Only after a period of time did she realize the new faction she worked for was Mo Cloud C. Of course she knew of Mo Cloud C. In the Yao world, everyone knew the name Mo Cloud C. This strong power who did not have a lot of territory, but was strong and produced all kinds of talismans. The Yao did not have a habit of using talismans in the past. They used Yao cores. But Yao cores were rare and expensive. Yet, just a while ago, large amounts of Yao cores that were suitable for Yao started to appear on the market. Strangely, these Yao cores were not natural but synthetic. There were only a rare few that knew that these forged Yao cores were produced by Mo Cloud C. Ling Shui, who had been in business for many years, was one of the rare few privy to this. Mo Cloud C was like a riddle, powerful and mysterious. Talismans, Mo weapons, Yao cores, their products were sold to all three races. Even Tianhuan, who was famed for their forging, did not have the ability to produce three completely different types of weapons. But Mo Cloud C did. Too strong. The rumors said the start of the Shin Power era had been initiated by the master of Mo Cloud C. The first pseudo-Shin weapon had also been forged by the master of Mo Cloud C. The last hint of unwillingness inside Ling Shui disappeared at being able to be in the service of such a powerful faction. She was only curious. Why had Mo Cloud C picked her? She believed she had some talent, but for a large faction like Mo Cloud C, They had the ability to find someone better. Even now, she did not understand this. But she understood that this was a chance for her, a great opportunity. The business she had before was just a little business in an area. Right now, she managed a powerful faction that had the right to speak in all three realms. If she did well, she would definitely become a core member of Mo Cloud C in the near future. Undoubtedly, her family would rise as well. Even though she had a competitor, this did not demotivate her. While she did not have such a complex history as Hong Xiao, her growth had not been easy. She did not fear competition. Recently, the market had not been right. The price of Shin equipment, which had been rising constantly, slowed in its rise, and in this month, a small drop had occurred. This was definitely unusual. Right now, there were only a few parties that had the ability to produce Shin equipment. The one that sold best was Mo Cloud Shin equipment due to the outstanding nature and the relatively low price. The Tianhuan Shin equipment was also one of three major Shin equipment, but it was priced at almost 20% higher than Mo Cloud Shin equipment. Kunlun Shin equipment was also outstanding in power, but their production was limited. It would take them a long time to just outfit their own forces. The amount of Mo Cloud Shin equipment on the market had greatly increased due to the large order from Xishen. From all the signs, it meant that in the long term, the price of Shin equipment should remain high and not drop. This unusual phenomenon, the fall in prices, immediately set off Song Ling Shui's alarm. Someone was fighting for the market. Qing Xiao quickly familiarized himself with Zhua Mo and the group. Gradually, Zhua Mo understood what had happened. The master of the Totem Colosseum had been the good friend of the Greenvine tribe. When he designed the Totem Colosseum, a branch of the Greenvine tribe had settled in the Summer Palace to guard the forest for him. Then they started to live here. At regular intervals, the master of the Totem Colosseum would help draw out the wish power in their bodies. Yet, unexpectedly, the master of the Totem Colosseum disappeared and the Totem Colosseum closed. The Greenvine tribe branch that lived in the Summer Palace were trapped inside. Due to this, they managed to avoid the battle of the sealed extinction. But the wish power in the sunlight became the greatest enemy of the Greenvine tribe. When the strongest of the tribe were here, everyone could manage to get by. As the strongest among them started to die, the Greenvine tribe started to decrease in number. Until now, where Qing Xiao was the only one left. Maybe because he had lived in this environment from childhood that Qing Xiao could resist wish power to a certain degree. However, if Zhua Mo and the other had not appeared, in 20 years, Qing Xiao would also die from the corrosion of wish power. At that time, this vibrant forest would also disappear with Qing Xiao's death. Zhua Mo had to rejoice that he had come at this time. Qing Xiao was lively, clever, and innocent. Everyone liked him. This completely preserved forest had given him the best place to cultivate. The Greenvine Shin power he had was very pure. Other than become a completely deadweight in battle, his power astounded them. That green pulse string that became especially scary in his hands. He seemed to innately know how to use the green pulse string. The long green pulse string was also unusually obedient. It was uncanny in his hands, unpredictable, and even the ghost mist child was shocked. With Qing Xiao here, walking out of the forest was very easy. Qing Xiao was familiar with every inch here, and did not find it difficult to lead them out of the forest. Following Qing Xiao, the group quickly reached the edge of the forest. An endless ocean and storm appeared in front of them. Chapter 810. Awaken. The forest tree line ended abruptly. It was a clear dividing line. On one side of the line was a dense forest, and on the other a great ocean. On one side was a bright sun and hot day, on the other a furious storm. The clouds were black, and the curtain of rain carried hail that smashed into the ocean. The seawater was pulled up dozens of li into the air by the furious wind. Lightning flashed and thunder roared in the space between the clouds and the water. Everyone's expressions became serious. Everyone could feel the furious power contained within the storm. Yet, except for charging forward, they had no other choice. Form the battle formation. Everyone, pay attention to the positions of those around you. Zhua Mo ordered. Then he grabbed Qing Xiao and turned to say to Zhong Ru, See if the 3 manifestation treasure staff can draw away the lightning. Zhongru nodded to indicate he understood. Everyone was trained and quickly finished the battle formation. Wei Xing, Tseng Lianer and the other experts entered the core positions. In MO Cloud C, no matter your skill level, you had battle formation training. Even Wei Xing was not an exception. In Zhuomo's view, the top experts that could merge into a battle formation were the ones that would be able to express their greatest power in large-scale battles. This was something he copied from the MO fighting methods. Among the MO, the battle general was the strongest. All the power would gather on the battle general who would then attack. At Wei Xing's level, he understood more about battle formations than the average battle generals. He was more sensitive towards power and had stronger control. Seeing the magnificent composition of this battle formation, Zhuo had some confidence. He said with bravado, "Go." The group headed into the storm. Even though they had a guess, when they truly charged into the storm, that feeling was completely different. Once they charged into the storm, they felt their vision darken. Their ears were filled with howling of the wind and they could not hear anything else. The furious winds were like blades and caused sparks to fly when they hit the barrier of the battle formation. Rain and hail smashed down. The rain seemed to contain a certain corrosion ability. When the hail hit the light shield of the battle formation, it immediately spread outwards, forming a patch of frost. The power of the storm was endless. The people in the formation were like leaves flying in the wind, unable to stabilize themselves. Light flashed in the clouds above them. Suddenly, a thick bolt of lightning came out of the cloud layer and hit the battle formation. Zhongru, who had been prepared, raised his 3 manifestation treasure staff without any hesitation. Hiss crack crack. The thick lightning accurately hit the 3 manifestation treasure staff. Zhongru felt his hand become heavy from numbness. The round, clear ball of the 3 manifestation treasure staff suddenly lit up with light. The lightning burrowed into the Thunder Source hammer and the Thunder Source hammer lit up with silver light. Zhongru sighed in relief. The 3 manifestation treasure staff was strong. At this time, the sky suddenly flickered. Zhongru's expression changed slightly. Before he could react, hiss crack crack, 3 successive thick bolts of lightning hit his 3 manifestation treasure staff. Zhongru felt as though his chest was hit with a heavy hammer and gave a muffled grunt. The 3 manifestation treasure staff was untouched. After swallowing 4 lightning bolts, the Thunder Source hammer had an even brighter silver light. There was a layer of snapping electricity around it. Zhuo seemed to be facing a great enemy. There was a strange power inside the raindrops that were battering the light shield of the battle formation. The power of each raindroplet was small, but it was a great storm outside. In every moment, there were uncountable droplets of rain that were hitting the light shield of the battle formation. Everyone's energies were being expended. Adding on the hail. Damn it. Zhuo was anxious but not panicked. Zhongru had the 3 manifestation treasure staff for the lightning. Then what about the rain and the hail? His eyes suddenly lit up. How had he forgotten this? With a flip of his hand, a tattered banner appeared on his hand. The rain commanding banner. Zhuo threw it to the Ghost Mist Child. Do you know how to use this? The Ghost Mist Child had been thirsting after the rain commanding banner. He had high affinity with the attributes of rain and this would be a suitable treasure for him. However, he knew that he was the newcomer and had not performed meritoriously. If he spoke up and asked for such a treasure, he would probably be beaten to death by Darren. Hearing Zhuo ask if he could use it, he was overjoyed. He nodded repeatedly, yes, yes. Even in the past, the rain commanding banner had been a top-ranked treasure. Zhuo did not waste words and threw the rain commanding banner to the Ghost Mist Child. The Ghost Mist Child had not lied. When he waved the rain commanding banner, the rain droplets outside seemed to be obedient and opened a path. Everyone felt the pressure on them lessen. The corrosiveness of the rain droplets had been the greatest burden on their endurance. Now that it was gone, they all felt light. Nice. You have some skill. Zhuo praised with surprise on his face. The Ghost Mist Child puffed up his chest and stomach with a proud expression. However, with his childlike appearance, it looked ridiculous. But while he felt proud, he said humbly, It is this rain-commanding banner that is easy to use. Zuemo said generously, "Oh, not bad, the rain-commanding banner belongs to you now. Do not waste a treasure like this." The ghost Miss Child was stunned by this free food that fell from the sky. With his daze, the rain droplets started to hit the battle formation's light shield. "Work hard," Zuemo swore, glaring. "If you cannot do good work, this will be taken back." The ghost Miss Child seemed to wake up and hugged the rain-commanding banner with an expression of panic. He hurriedly said, "I'll work hard. I will definitely work hard." The pressure lessened again. Zuemo sighed softly. He ignored this guy, he didn't have a good head. The lightning and the storm had both been resolved. The only things left were the hail and the strong wind. Sparks flashed and disappeared on the light shield, circles of frost forming and disappearing. Resisting this was not a great expenditure for the battle formation. But who knew how large this ocean was? There were no problems in maintaining the battle formation for 5 days. 10 days it would be hard to manage. 15 days it would be at the limits. Over 15 days. Zuemo asked Qing Xiao, "Have you come here before?" No. Qing Xiao obediently shook his head. There was no fear on his face as he looked with curiosity at the rain outside. Zuemo was slightly disappointed. He gritted his teeth. There were no solutions. They could only charge forward. After flying for 10 days in the storm, there were no signs they were leaving the storm. They had tried to fly towards the clouds. If they were above the clouds, there would not be a storm. Yet when they went close to the cloud layer, countless lightning and thunder would smash towards them, preventing them from ascending. That scene scared all of them. They did not hesitate to fly down. No one had seen such packed lightning and thunder. Even Zhong Ru, who held the 3 manifestation treasures staff, would end up as dust under such terrifying lightning. Helpless, they could only move through the storm. Seeing the undisguised exhaustion on everyone's faces, Zuemo knew that they had to rest. Everyone stopped for a while. Zuemo called for everyone to stop and then took out a palm-sized city from his ring. King's Forbidden City. The King's Forbidden City grew rapidly in the sky and in a blink, covered everyone. In this moment, everyone felt the world had become quiet. The roaring had stopped. They seemed to be in a completely different world. The furious roars of the wind, the rain, and ice were outside while this place was peaceful. The mysterious and complex seal scripts that flashed in the sky above the city made everyone feel strangely safe. Their nerves had been tensed for 10 days. Everyone was tired. Once they had the chance to breathe, they sat down and started to replenish their Shen power. Zuemo's power was quickly recovering. Inside the King's Forbidden Firmament, his recovery was faster than any other person. This chance to breath was really too precious. Zuemo rejoiced that he had not forgotten about the King's Forbidden Firmament. In these past years, Zuemo had spent time organizing his memories. He had uncovered some memory fragments hidden deep in his mind. The city of his childhood had been filled out in his mind, and he had reforged the King's Forbidden Firmament. With his deeper understanding of seal formations and enough materials, the newly forged King's Forbidden Firmament was more secure than before and stronger. He had reforged the King's Forbidden Firmament as a memento of his blurry memories. Even though he had reforged the King's Forbidden Firmament, a talisman like this could not be of direct help to him like a Shen device. He hadn't, through this memento of his childhood memories, could save his life. Zuemo grimaced and a complex emotion rose. He turned around to look. Most of the places in the city were the exact same as his memories. This was the first time he entered the King's Forbidden Firmament since it had been reforged. This familiar yet unfamiliar feeling was unspeakably strange. He shook his head and laughed self-mockingly. He had actually the spare time to lament. At this time, he suddenly noticed the strangeness of Ague next to him. Ague suddenly stood up. "Ague, what is it?" Zuemo was slightly nervous and quickly followed. Ague did not seem to hear. She walked along a small path slowly. Her eyes were not empty any longer, but puzzled. Ague's steps were slow and a ripple finally appeared on her forever emotionless face. Zuemo became worried. Ague seemed very familiar with this place. She walked silently, and her expression became wooden again. Zuermo seemed to understand. It must be that Ague still had some memory fragments. The familiar environment of the king's forbidden firmament had awakened a part of her memories. Ague seemed to be very familiar with this place, and after some twists and turns, she came to a small yard. Her hand was placed on the door, and she pushed it open. Zuermo stilled. This little yard. A slightly blurry scene appeared in front of him. Guigue, this name isn't pleasing to hear, the little boy muttered, his hands not slowing at all. The little girl tilted her head. Guigue feels that it is very good. Why do you work so hard on something as boring as cultivation? The little boy had an expression of puzzlement as he carefully treated the wounds on the little girl's feet. The little girl teared up due to the pain, and her voice carried a sob. However, she was unusually determined. Because only by getting stronger can I protect young Mater. This place is very safe. I don't need to be protected. I don't like to go out. The little boy's head shook like a rattledrum. But what if there is a day? The little girl tilted her head. Young master, a slightly wooden and hoarse voice sounded by his ear, just like when in their childhood he was having delusions. Zuermo felt uncomfortable and gave a short huff to expel the melancholy he felt. He raised his head and met a pair of purple eyes. Zuermo was dumbstruck where he stood. Chapter 811, Tianhuan's Attack from All Fronts. Tianhuan. When the results of the investigations came out, both Hong Xiao and Song Ling Shui recognized the severity of the matter and immediately reported it. Tianhuan was attacking Mo Cloud C on the market from all directions. Many of the materials suppliers that were close with Mo Cloud C were forced to stop their partnerships with Mo Cloud C under the pressure of Tianhuan. This caused a break in Mo Cloud C's supply chain of materials. In terms of Shin equipment, Tianhuan started to widely advertise the Tianhuan Shin equipment and also lowered their prices. The factions that had placed orders from Mo Cloud C all turned to throw themselves into Tianhuan's arms due to Tianhuan's pressure and temptation. The sale volume of Mo Cloud Shin equipment decreased as a direct result, and the cost to make Mo Cloud Shin equipment was drastically rising. One important reason that Mo Cloud C's Shin equipment had gotten a good reputation so quickly was Tianhuan's inaction. For so many years, Tianhuan had become used to people coming begging to their door. In the Xiozha world, no sect dared to compete with them in forging. The present Tianhuan, after Chief Elder's warning, started to reflect on their actions. If Mo Cloud C could only be called nouveau riche, then Tianhuan was definitely the hegemon of the market. For thousands of years, Tianhuan had been at the top of this market. After thousands of years, their tentacles reached into every corner of the Xiozha market. The reputation they had, their resources, manpower, connections, they were something that Mo Cloud C that had just risen up could compare to. Before this, Tianhuan had never looked properly at Mo Cloud C. In their eyes, Mo Cloud C was not on the same level as them. Tianhuan had paid a great price for their pride. But Tianhuan woke up. They climbed down off their pedestal and started to be proactive in the market. This kind of Tianhuan was astounding in its strength. The entire market turned into a storm. Tianhuan showed their fangs. In this field they had worked in for thousands of years, even Kunlun could not match them. They were too familiar with what to do. There was no secret in their eyes. Tianhuan's attack was even fiercer than Mo Cloud C imagined. In just a fortnight, almost 40% of material suppliers stopped their partnership with Mo Cloud C and sided with Tianhuan. This happened so quickly that Mo Cloud C didn't even have time to react. The production of Shin equipment was forced to stop. Mo Cloud C was facing unprecedented danger. In the sea of consciousness, Pu Yao and Wei had grave expressions. The danger that Mo Cloud C faced had been passed to Pu Yao from the 10-finger prison. Pu Yao and Wei were intelligent people and they immediately realized the level of trouble this indicated. They hadn't thought that Tianhuan would really lower themselves to fight for market share with Mo Cloud C. Also, they were both shocked at Tianhuan's strength in the market. Mo Cloud C's transportation formations had been previously affected and there were only a few that were in use. The supply of materials had been a problem. What Tianhuan did pushed Mo Cloud C onto a precipice. Many materials were not high level, but they were used in large amounts. If they could not be replenished, Shen equipment was not the only thing that stopped. Xixian could provide materials, but not all materials could be transported from Xixian. Due to internal chaos, many places in Xixian had stopped production. Tianhuan's move was both fast and vicious. The stoppage of Shen equipment also affected Xixian because Mo Cloud C could not complete the order before the discussed time. Pu Yao and Wei were both clear-headed. They knew that Tianhuan's attack would not just be so. If they were Tianhuan, they would definitely be sending people to Xixian right now. Mo Cloud C had Shen equipment. Tianhuan also had Shen equipment. They had more production capacity than Mo Cloud C. Tianhuan was much stronger. Also, once Tianhuan threw out the lure of an alliance, Xixian wouldn't have any ability to resist. Tianhuan was stronger than Mo Cloud C. Once Tianhuan gave up on the thought of attacking Xixian, for Xixian, they would be better allies than Mo Cloud C. Tianhuan was more powerful. At that time, Mo Cloud C would be in danger. Surrounded by 3 strong factions. It was really being surrounded in all directions. Even the 9 Great Diana sects with its internal conflict could not stop the alliance of 3 powers. They would face the danger of being divided up. Even if Mo Cloud C and the 9 Great Diana sects allied together, they would not be able to stop the 3 from advancing. At that time, the 9 Great Diana sect would have to switch sides in order to survive. When it came to that step, Mo Cloud C would only have the path of death. Tianhuan really thought highly of Mo Cloud C. Pu Yao and Wei stared at each other, bitterness in their mouths. Mo Cloud C was in danger. Chao Xian took a sip of wine. His expression was relaxed. Tianhuan's move is beautiful, an open conspiracy, a truly public conspiracy. They hit Mo Cloud C right on their weakness. Mo Cloud C is in danger. Lin Chen smiled and said, "It seems that we will get peace for a while. Cooperate with Tianhuan and have the battalions on Xixian's borders move back. Let Xixian relax." The two were in good moods. Compared to the declining Xixian, the lively Mo Cloud C was the eyesore in Kunlun's eyes. Mo Cloud C was unstoppable in the Mo territories and showed great offensive power which caused all of Kunlun to be uneasy. If Tianhuan's strategy was completed, then a situation where 3 strong forces attacking Mo Cloud C would form. Mo Cloud C would not be able to escape even if it had wings. No one had thought that the seemingly powerful Mo Cloud C had such a fatal weakness. Tianhuan's successive attacks exposed Mo Cloud C's weakness to the world. Mo Cloud C was too small. From the viewpoint of safety, this was more beneficial for defense. However, for a faction with forging at its core, this was undoubtedly fatal. Once the supply of materials was cut off, they would end up in a dangerous position. Battalions, battle generals, they were all useless at this point. This was another battlefield. Chao Xin's mind shifted and another plan formed. We can have the people from the 9 Great Diana sects make a fuss and urge the other 5 sections. Tianhuan would also do the same. They also have people inside. This idea is good. Lin Qian's eyes lit up. Those people will be forced to stay neutral at such a time to not offend either side. Neutrality is enough. A cold light flashed through Chao Xin's eyes. Neutrality at this time is making things worse for Mo Cloud C. Mo Cloud C will not be able to escape this time, Lin Qian said, and his expression became excited. Mo Cloud C was his great worry. Tianhuan's envoy went to see the sect leader, the subordinate reported in a low voice. Zhong De's scar-covered face was like granite. What did they say? The first person that Tianhuan's envoy came to see was Zhong De. However, Zhong De had refused the meeting. Zhong De was an experienced person. This person came to Xixian, yet the first he met with was not the sect leader but Zhong De. Their intentions were malicious, wanting to spark internal discord. If the sect leader didn't know that he only had 3 years left to live, It would be hard for him not to become suspicious at this time. They said that Mo Cloud C will not be able to finish the remaining Shin equipment and they are willing to provide Shin equipment. The subordinate reported in detail. They said that these Shin equipment have been specially designed by them for Xixian. Also, they are willing to sign an alliance agreement with us to not fight. Also, if Kunlun invades Xixian, Tianhuan will definitely announce war against Kunlun. This agreement is for 10 years. Zhongde had people around the sect leader and naturally learned all this. And then, Zhongde is expressionless. The sect leader did not respond and said to meet again in a few days. The subordinate said. Sect leader has been persuaded, Zhongde said coolly. As expected by Zhongde, on that night, the sect leader came to Zhongde's camp. What does Uncle Zhong think about Xixian allying with Tianhuan? The sect leader did not waste words and headed straight into the topic. The matter of buying Shin equipment was a minor matter. What does sect leader think? Zhongde asked expressionlessly in response. The sect leader said, I feel that this may work. We allied with Mo Cloud C to guard against Kunlun and Tianhuan. If we ally with Tianhuan, it is undoubtedly more beneficial and we can gain 10 years of peace. Zhongde listened expressionlessly, but he was slightly surprised inside. He had originally thought the other would be bewitched by the envoy and hadn't thought that the sect leader also foresaw that the alliance would only survive for 10 years. If we have 10 years, our Xixian will be able to recover. This way, we may be able to vie for the world. A hint of excitement flashed through the sect leader's eyes. 10 years. If he had 10 years, the sect leader was confident that Xixian could rise again based on their foundations. At that time, without Zhongde, he would be in power alone. A hint of disdain flashed through Zhongde's eyes. However, the excited sect leader did not notice it. I do not agree, Zhongde said slowly. It was as though a bucket of cold water had been poured on the sect leader's head. He was stunned where he stood, looking dazedly at Zhongde. A moment later, he asked in disbelief, why does Uncle Zhong not agree? He didn't understand why Uncle Zhong would not agree. He said urgently, Uncle Zhong, are you afraid that they will break the alliance? They said that they are willing to make a sect leader oath. The oath of a sect leader was something that could not be broken for any sect. Because once the sect leader oath was broken, all of the sect would be affected. The Xiozha of the entire sect would be weakened in power. In history, there had never been an example of a sect leader oath being broken. I do not agree, Zhongde said expressionlessly and then turned to leave. The sect leader of Xixian was dumbstruck where he stood. Darren, why do you not agree? Zhongde's subordinate asked in puzzlement. He had helped Zhongde guard the Abyss Fiend prison for many years, and was highly trusted by Zhongde. He felt it was strange. From every angle, allying with Tianhuan was beneficial for Xixian. Zhongde seemed to not hear it. Like stone, he gazed at the distant darkness. Chapter 812. The chief towers where Mo and Agui stared into each other's eyes. Agui's wooden face moved stiffly. Her misty eyes seemed to focus. The feeling that Zuemo felt when he saw Agui's eyes recover life under his gaze could not be described. For some reason, a strong warmth filled his heart, and his nose felt sore. Was this fate? Zuemo looked dazedly at Agui, and allowed the tears to fall. Young master. A hand reached towards his face and wiped his tears for him. Agui's eyes glowed like the brightest of stars, and her murmurs the most beautiful music in the world. Young master, don't cry. Agui will forever protect young master. The young female's voice carried a thread of rawness and clumsiness, but it was filled with her innocent heart just like in their childhood. Zuemo felt as though he could not control his emotions. Tears blurred his vision. He tried to grin, to make himself look like he was smiling. He used his hands to roughly wipe away the tears on his face. Looking at the figure of the young female in his sight that was still slightly blurry, he said loudly, "Nonsense. Do not underestimate your young master. Now it is time for young master to protect you. I'm telling you, young master is very, very strong now. Kunlun Tianhuan, they will be beaten like dogs by your young master." Agui looked serenely at Zuemo, her lively nimble eyes filling with warmth and faint bashfulness. There was nothing that motivated Zhuo more than Agui's awakening. Zhuo felt as though he was full of energy and power. If Lin Qian was in front of him, he would carry the anti-dragon claw and howl as he beat Lin Qian like a dog. Having broken free of the undying Shen punishment's restrictions, Agui's strength reached an astounding power. Zhuo asked Agui how she had broken free of the undying Shen punishment. Agui had a puzzled expression. It had been too long since Agui spoke. As a result, in both expression and speech, she was slightly stiff. As long as Agui was free, so happy he was about to go insane, Zhuo was like a wasteland beast filled with energy and unprecedented motivation. He wanted to tear down this entire ocean. However, not everyone was wasteland beast. Everyone needed to meditate to recover Shen power. 3 days later, Wei Xingxixiang opened his eyes. Following him, Tseng Lianer, Luo Li and the others also opened their eyes. By the time everyone had recovered, 5 days had passed. When everyone saw Agui smiling and standing bashfully next to Zhuo, they were astounded. Was this the same brutal, ruthless, and cold-blooded Agui? The strong reversal in personality shocked them for a long time before they recovered. Only the little ones came over without hesitation, still close to Agui. The seal scripts in the sky above the king's forbidden city were much fainter. After being continuously attacked for 5 days, their expenditure was astounding. However, this kind of consumption was worth it. Everyone's Shen power had recovered to their maximum, and this caused them to be full of confidence. Zhuo, who had been waiting impatiently, waved his arm. "Let's go." Everyone formed the formation again and traveled between the storm. Everyone had learned from the previous experience and were more skilled at passing through the storm. They flew for 7 days. Suddenly, Zhuo's eyes lit up. He pointed forward and shouted, "Look there!" Through the rain and hail, they saw a small black dot in the distance. Everyone became refreshed and they sped up. When they flew closer, the blurry shadow became clear. It was a set of bronze gates. The gates stood alone above the ocean. The surroundings were calm winds and bright sun. A ray of sunlight traveled through the dark clouds and shone off the bronze gates. They were finally about to leave this damned place. Everyone was excited. Who would have thought that they had suffered for 23 days in this body of water? 23 days. When they passed through the storm and flew in front of the copper door, everyone had a smile on their face. Pushing open the bronze gates, a long passageway appeared in front of them. Everyone was on alert and carefully entered the passageway. Unexpectedly, there were no defenses in the passageway. However, the passageway was longer than they imagined. They walked for a long time before they saw light up ahead. Flying out of the passageway, a tall tower that reached the clouds appeared in front of them. Up there, the ghost Miss Child shouted joyfully, "This is the chief tower. The Shen device nucleus is up there." Hearing this, everyone was energized. Zhuo said unhesitatingly, "Let's go up." The group flew upwards. The chief tower was tall, so tall it surpassed imagination. They flew through the astral wind and still hadn't reached the top of the chief tower. Flying upwards like this took a great amount of Shen power. None of them had flown so high before. Everyone's expression became solemn. Soon, the weakest guards slowed down. They panted and didn't have the energy to fly upwards. They were about 500 to 600 li from the ground. While they had strong minds, they couldn't help but pale. Even flying with a sword, no one would fly so high. The wind was like knives. The higher it was, the stronger the wind. Zhuo saw this and said, "Go down and wait for us below." Finishing, they continued to fly up. The wind high up became even strong. Zhuo and the others had to use Shen power. The wind created sparks when it hit their protective shields. The wind here was packed. From afar, the group looked like a swarm of meteors flying upwards and drawing a tail of sparks behind them. The faster they passed through, the sooner they would be safe. Everyone gathered their power and furiously headed upwards. Boom! Everyone suddenly felt the pressure ease. The sparks around them all disappeared. They had passed through the wind layer. Everyone looked down curiously. The wind layer was extremely thick. Anyone weak would be torn to pieces by the strong wind high up. Mo and the others possessed strength, but if there was no matter, no one would be so bored as to take a stroll in the strong wind layer. Void, endless void. In this void, the sun and the stars appeared together. Everyone was attracted by the wondrous scene in front of them. So in the sky up high, it was like this. Without the wind, everyone's worries were eased. They raised their heads. They still could not see the top of the chief tower. Everyone inhaled in shock. Continue the charge. Mo gritted his teeth and flew out along the chief tower. The others did not hesitate and followed closely. They continued to fly upwards. Yet everyone was filled with shock. A tower that was 10,000 li tall. What great work of labor was this? How strong had the creator of the totem Colosseum been? 15,000 li. When they flew to a height of 15,000 li, everyone finally saw the enormous shadow covering them. That top of the tower was enormous. Everyone became nervous. Even Wei Xing had a slightly nervous expression. The power represented by a tower 15,000 li tall surpassed any sect. No one knew what was at the top of the tower. But at this time, no one would retreat. Everyone be careful. Mo's nerves were also tensed. Everyone slowed down as though they were facing a great enemy. They slowly flew towards the outskirts. The Rao Feng the tower was enormous. They had to fly to the edges of the tower top in order to get to the top of the tower. When everyone flew to the edges of the tower top and then flew upwards, they stretched out their necks. They were all shocked by the scene in front of them. This was an enormous and flat stage, a large stage that could hold tens of thousands of people sleeping on the ground. The ground was as smooth as a mirror without any marks. It was smoothly polished as though it was a piece of stone that had been cut open in the middle. Starlights in the billions gathered on the stage that turned into a thick pillar of light that shot towards the center of the stage. When they flew up, what they saw was this mirror-smooth stage and a pillar of starlight that hung down from the firmament. Star power, counted in the billions, were mostly as thin as hair or invisible to sight. Only a few of the stars formed faint rays of light that came down. But when these minuscule rays of light gathered in the billions, it was astounding strong. Mo was the first to recover from the astounding scene. He could feel the thick power of the stars from far away, but his obsession with treasure caused him to quickly refocus. There was something in the thick pillar of starlight. There's something in the pillar. Mo shouted. Everyone seemed to wake up and stared at the pillar. There was something flickering in and out of view inside the pillar of starlight. The scene in front of them was so stunning. Every piece represented terrifyingly great power. Chief Tower, the mirror stage, the pillar of starlight. All of them were masterworks and needed uncanny skill. So terrifying. Seeing their goal in sight, the reverence they felt did not decrease but increased. If someone this powerful set up Jinji, if they just touched it, they would most likely turn into dust. Everyone was experienced and knew that at times like this, they had to be even more careful. Looking at the distance, Mo's mind shifted, and he turned to ask Qin Shao for the green pulse string. The green pulse string was long enough to reach it without stepping on the stage. There were too many strange things about this stage. If he didn't have to step on it, it was better not to. Mo's wrist shook and the green pulse string shot towards the central pillar of the stage like a nimble snake. A strange feeling came from the other end. Mo was overjoyed. It worked. Gritting his teeth, Mo ignored everything else. The green pulse string was pulled, and it shot back at him with what was inside the pillar of light. Boom! Mo's action seemed to have poked the hornet's nest. The pillar of starlight responded to the disappearance of the thing inside. It melted like snow from the end of the pillar of light. Mo and the others that were afraid of the effects had moved away long ago. Crack, crack, crack. The surface of the mirror started to crack. Terrifying cracks appeared on the stage. Boom! The cracking did not show any signs of stopping. It headed down destructively along the chief tower. Under the wide gazes and open mouths of Mo's group, this tall tower that was 15,000 li tall cracked inch by inch and collapsed. Chapter 813 Allies. When Zhou Mo's group escaped from the ruins behind them had completely collapsed. Shattered fragments of stone flew and floated in air as though they were weightless. The stones stretched out for thousands of li and looked like a thick and low-hanging cloud. The Lotus Sutra Temple disciples that had been waiting near the ruins were stunned by the sudden collapse. Lotus Sutra Temple's sect leader changed expression. The scene in front of her was too astounding. Had Zhou Mo encountered great danger? The more she thought, the uglier her expression became. At this time, if something happened to Zhou Mo Cloud Sea was over. Unlike other sects, Lotus Sutra Temple did not have many choices left to them. Lotus Sutra Temple had just burned their ties with Kunlun, and Tianhuan could only live if they sided with Mo Cloud Sea. She might have regrets, but she was not an ordinary person. She knew that saving the other was her only choice, as Mo Cloud Sea was in great danger at T-moment. She was already tied with Mo Cloud Sea, prospering and declining together. After learning that Mo Cloud Sea lacked materials, she had transported a batch of materials to Mo Cloud Sea. But Lotus Sutra Temple was too small and did not have any outstanding abilities to produce materials. The other sects, afraid of Tianhuan, did not sell materials to her. The sect leader of Lotus Sutra Temple was burning in urgency, but Zhou Mo and the other had not come out. She waited outside the entrance of the ruins in order to seize Zhou Mo as soon as possible. When the sect leader saw the figures of Zhou Mo and the others, she finally sighed in relief. "Let's go," she said urgently. Zhou Mo saw the urgency of the sect leader and immediately realized that something must have happened. "What is it?" "Well, speak on the way." The sect leader of Lotus Sutra Temple flew out first. Seeing this, Zhou Mo did not linger and followed immediately. Everyone else knew that something had happened, and the mood of the group became heavy. When Zhou Mo heard the sect leader of Lotus Sutra Temple explaining the situation, his heart continued to sink. He immediately ran into the sea of consciousness and asked when he found Pu Yao and Wei. "Why didn't you tell me?" He knew that Pu Yao definitely knew long ago. With Pu Yao's strength, he was able to connect to the 10-finger prison from within the ruins. "What's the use in telling you?" Pu Yao snorted. Zhou Mo was speechless, unable to think of a response. He had been in the ruins surrounded by danger at the time. If he had been distracted even in the slightest, then he would have died in the ruins. Zhou Mo relaxed his tone, his brow creased. "What solutions do you have?" "These are the suggestions that Hong Xiao and Song Ling Shui gave us." Pu Yao threw over a ball of light. Zhou Mo received it and countless words flew through his mind. Hong Xiao and Song Ling Shui's suggestions were to the point. First was to push out stronger Shin equipment to increase Mo Cloud Sea's fame. Second was to see if they could advertise Shin equipment to the Mo and the Yao. Mo Cloud Shin equipment was most suitable for Mo Cloud System Shin Power, and was the primary Shin equipment of Mo Cloud Sea. However, the Mo Shin Power and the Yao Shin Power were completely different. If they could make Shin equipment of these two types, it would definitely be welcomed. Third was to attempt to purchase materials from the Mo and Yao realms. This way, they could avoid the sanctions of Tianhuan. Fourth was to increase Ling farming on the 44 newly conquered Jie to increase production of materials. Zhou Mo read through carefully and was slightly reassured. It had to be said that these suggestions were all good. If they could follow these suggestions, they could break Tianhuan's monopoly of the Xiuzhi world. Right now, Mo Cloud Sea had expanded to 113 Jie. While this could not compare to Kunlun and Tianhuan, it could be considered large. Follow these suggestions, have Golden Crow Camp start work. Zhou Mo thought of Golden Crow Camp and then suddenly thought of Xixian's astounding large Shin equipment order. Based on the present situation, the order was in danger. Wait, Xixian? Zhou Mo's expression changed slightly. He suddenly realized that the crux of the entire matter was not all the supplies, but Xixian's alliance. From the breakdowning in the supply chain, stealing their market share, all of this was like a chain tightening on their necks. While they would feel suffocated, it would not be immediately fatal. What was truly fatal was a change in Xixian's attitude. Xixian was the most important point. If Xixian sided with the enemy, they would immediately be surrounded on 3 sides. The first to fall would be the 9 great Diana sects. The 5 sects that were still resisting now would have to submit to Kunlun and Tianhuan. Would Xixian change sides? Zhuo Mo's head was a mess. He was one of the few that knew that Zhongde only had 3 years left to live. Would Xixian change sides? If Kunlun and Tianhuan agreed to an alliance, then definitely. If they allied with Kunlun and Tianhuan, they could follow the 2 factions and divide the 9 great Diana sects and Mo Cloud Sea. The declining Xixian might be able to turn the situation around. He could see this, and he didn't believe that Xixian couldn't see it. Damn it. Zhuo Mo's expression became ugly. Finding a remote location, the sect leader of Lotus Sutra Temple said, Yuan Hao said for you to immediately contact him after coming out. Zhuo Mo took a deep breath. He knew that the more urgent the situation, the more he had to remain calm. Tianhuan made a great move. Gu Liangdao shook his head and said, his expression worried, this time, Brother Zhuo is probably in trouble. Shuang Ye's expression was also serious. He said, is there no way of solving this? Xiao was at the side with a terrible expression. The crux is Xixian. Gu Liangdao's face imperceptibly twitched. These 2 words would always easily pierce his heart. The twitch was so minute that even Shuang Yu didn't detect it. Gu Liangdao's expression was dark but his tone calmed. Zhongde only has 3 years, more accurately, slightly more than 2 years. Without Zhongde's support, the death of Xixian is just a matter of time. The people from Xixian can definitely see this. If they ally with Tianhuan, this is a rare chance for Xixian. Shuang Yu was slightly puzzled. Mo Cloud Sea, who had seemed to be prospering just a few days ago, seemed to be suddenly surrounded by enemies, and was also at the end of its tether. Send materials to Mo Cloud Sea, as much as we have, Gu Liangdao said. Xiao did not waste words. Yes, he said rapidly. We also have some extra money and can buy some materials. Send them all. Gu Liangdao waved his hand. Xiao nodded. He didn't speak and turned to leave quickly. Shuang Yu raised his face to look at Gu Liangdao. While it is minuscule, we should do as much as we are able. Gu Liangdao had a determined expression. No matter if it is for the common good or for ourselves, we cannot watch as Mo Cloud Sea falls. A light flashed through Shuang Ye's eyes. What are we going to do? He was unusually respectful of his brother. Seeing Gu Liangdao's spirited expression, he was similarly fearless. This was also why he followed Gu Liangdao and did not stay at Xixian. Kill Tianhuan. Gu Liangdao's gaze was sharp as he said. In the mirage, Yang Yuan Hao had a tired expression. The pressure he had been under in this period of time was unimaginable. The 5 large sects that had been of one mind began to have differing opinions after seeing Tianhuan's fierce attacks and Mo Cloud Sea's dilemma. Compared to the fighting on the battlefield, internal fighting made his mind feel even more tired. Brother Zhuo, you have been well since we last met. Even at this time, Yang Yuan Hao's speech and conduct was flawless. His handsome face recovered its usual calm. It is not well, it is great trouble. Zhuo Mo grimaced. Yang Yuan Hao grinned, but his expression quickly became stern. The situation is truly terrible. According to the information Nu got, Tianhuan's envoys have already reached Xixian. The conditions they set are very detrimental to us. What conditions? Zhuo Mo asked. Sect leader oath for a defensive pact. Tianhuan will have a duty to help Xixian fend off other attacks. In other words, if Xixian is attacked, Tianhuan will have to announce war on the other. For 10 years. Yang Yuan Hao's expression was terrible. Zhuo Mo was not too surprised. Tianhuan had been so fierce in their opening moves, how could their killing move be soft? He laughed. Tianhuan really thinks highly of Mo Cloud Sea. They are willing to pay the price of not touching Xixian for 10 years. Tianhuan has an expert directing them. Yang Yuan Hao nodded and a hint of admiration flashed through his eyes. But I have to admit that their move is beautiful, and we are very discomfort. Zhuo Mo asked, how's the situation on your side? Not very good. Yang Yuan Hao shook his head. They are fighting a lot. The majority are remaining neutral, These short-sighted people. Having this proven, Zhuo was even more calm. This was within his prediction. What do you plan on doing? Yang Yuanhao looked at Zhuo. He was filled with curiosity. Facing such a situation, what would Zhuo, who had produced miracles, do? From a long time ago, he had paid attention secretly to the master of Mo Cloud C, who did not seem very outstanding. In his view, the rise of Mo Cloud C was a spectacular legend yet was reliant on chance. But there was a person that attracted his attention, the master of Mo Cloud C. Zhuo examining Zhuo's history, he found to his shock that Zhuo had never truly lost. Zhuo was like an undying juggernaut. He would also successfully flip the situation when people thought that all hope was lost, and would take a bite of the richest spoils. One time was luck, but multiple times, that was not luck. So when Yang Yuanhao found that Mo Cloud C was in an unprecedented situation, he was under pressure but he was also curious. In such a terrible situation, what would Zhuo do? What would you choose? Zhuo suddenly raised his head and asked. Me? Yang Yuanhao had a surprised expression. He perceptively detected the importance of Zhuo's sentence. Zhuo said you and not your side. Yes, you. Zhuo emphasized the word. He looked directly at Yang Yuanhao and said calmly, your situation is bad as well. After this matter, discord will have been sown. There will be a divide between the 5 great sections. Just relying on Thunder Sound Temple and Lotus Sutra Temple, you cannot do a thing. They can side with Tianhuan or Kunlun, but what will you do? Siding with them is not a bad matter. Yang Yuanhao shrugged. And then, Zhuo stared at him, each word hitting his heart. You will be marginalized, then alongside the rest of the 9 great Diana sects, become cannon fodder for Tianhuan and Kunlun. Don't say it won't happen, you understand them as well. Their traditions are deeply rooted, they are strong internally. You will never be able to squeeze into their inner circle. To them, are there any cannon fodder better than you? The speech caused Yang Yuanhao's expression to shift, and the sect leader of Lotus Sutra Temple behind Zhuo seemed to make a decision. At least, I will live longer. Yang Yuanhao raised his head and shot back. Worry about yourself first and about how to stay alive. Zhuo did not speak but just a cold and sharp smile. Chapter 814, Hostage. He's crazy. He wants to pull us all down with him to the grave. Xixian sect leader's furious shriek echoed in the secret room. He almost could not believe that Zhongde had unexpectedly refused to ally with Tianhuan. He really could not imagine any reason that Zhongde would have. Didn't he know that he would only live for 2 more years? Or because he knew he would not be living for long, he wanted to have everyone die with him? This madman. Yes, this was definitely it. The sect leader of Xixian was filled with terror. This madman could do anything now. If he wanted everyone to die with him, then he would definitely do it. But the sect leader of Xixian could not understand. But in his eyes, Zhongde was a madman, one that could do anything. Originally, he had hid his strength and bided his time. All of the things he done, he did not conceal from Zhongde because he knew that Zhongde only had 3 years left to live. Xixian would end up his in the end. Even if the Tianhuan envoys visited Zhongde first, he was displeased but he kept his calm. Without Zhongde, Xixian would immediately collapse. What he was most worried about was not Zhongde's in power, but what would happen to Xixian after Zhongde died. He was furiously searching for young talent. He hoped to find a successor to Zhongde. His fear of death gnawed at his soul day and night, and he woke up countless times from nightmares. Suddenly, Tianhuan had caused him to see 10 years of peace. A whole 10 years. He did not have to live in fright all the time. 10 years. He would have enough time to slowly search and uncover new geniuses. Xixian was a large sect. How could they not have geniuses? If he had enough time, he could do it. At that time, he would be the true master of Xixian, the true sect leader of Xixian. But this hope that came from the hope was smashed ruthlessly by Zhongde, that bloodthirsty madman. Sect leader, this is a rare opportunity. A confidant of the sect leader, Ban Xia, came forward and said, "Use the death of Mo Cloud C to buy 10 years of peace for us. What is there to hesitate about? If we form the alliance, we can buy Shen equipment from Tianhuan. Tianhuan and us will ally against Kunlun. This is a true equilibrium of 3 powers." Ban Xia was a true confidant who had grown up with him. He had gone to Ban Xia to plot and commit many schemes. The sect leader said dispiritedly, "The madman will not agree. What is to be done? If we rebel, he will kill us." Ban Xia lowered his voice. "We cannot deal with him, but other people can." "You mean?" The sect leader suddenly raised his head and said in a trembling voice, "Since Zhongda is the biggest problem, then we will eliminate this problem." Ban Xia's tone was dark as he made a cutting motion with a vicious expression. Tianhuan's intentions are clear. They have finally acted. Mo Cloud C is their biggest enemy. For Mo Cloud C, they are willing to do anything. This? The sect leader's mind shook and his expression wavered. We can imply to Tianhuan, they will naturally think of a way. We only need to give them some secret aid. Once the head is cut off, sect leader can step forward to take control of the situation and it will stabilize. Ban Xia said gravely, "Also, we can push this onto Mo Cloud C." It had to be said that Ban Xia's plan had a high possibility of success. If Tianhuan sent out a top expert, and with them working from inside, the possibility of success was high. Hesitation flashed across the sect leader's face. But if Zhongdai is dead, what do we do if Kunlun and Tianhuan go back on their word and attack us? A matter like this could not be written down. If this was leaked, he would be overthrown as sect leader. Also, Zhongda was one of his greatest bargaining chips. Tianhuan and Kunlun were wary because of Zhongda's existence. Once Zhongda was gone, Xixian would become a piece of fat meat without any ability to defend itself. It was unknown if Tianhuan would hold to their previous agreement at that time. If Tianhuan did not abide by the agreement, then Xixian would be in danger. Ban Xia was also flummoxed by this problem. After some thought, his eyes suddenly lit up. "We can have Tianhuan's Li Xian heir be our hostage." Li Xian heir is the granddaughter of Tianhuan's sect leader and the leader of the younger generation of disciples. She is equivalent to Kunlun's Lin Qian. Tianhuan will definitely not allow anything to happen to Li Xian heir. If Tianhuan is willing to send us Li Xian heir as a hostage, it means that they are sincere. The sect leader's expression eased. This was a good plan. But he thought of another problem. Shaking his head, he said, "Which of us can match Li Xian heir's strength? It is too dangerous to have someone like this be a hostage." Ban Xia was full of intelligence. He smiled and said, "Sect leader, you forgot we have a wondrous place." "What place?" The sect leader stilled. "Fiendabus jail." Ban Xia said a term that had long been forgotten. The sect leader's eyes suddenly lit up. Receiving the message that the sect leader of Xixian had secretly sent, the higher levels of Tianhuan were stuck in a dilemma. Xixian's demand was simple. They wanted a hostage and they wanted Li Xian heir. This was not something that they could decide. Li Xian heir was the granddaughter of the sect leader and the most talented disciple of the younger generation. Her future was limitless and it was very likely that she would become the next sect leader. This was not the only factor. Mu Shuang, one of the 10 great battle generals and a significant person in the sect, and Gongya Xiaorong, who was also thought to possess top battle general level strength, opposed this fiercely. This party could not be dismissed. But there were those that agreed. For example, one of the 10 great battle generals, Minan. Minan was ranked 3rd among the 10 great battle generals, under only Xue Dong and Zhongda. He ranked even above Mu Shuang at 7th. He was one with real and great power in Tianhuan. Also, the Mi family was a traditionally powerful family within Tianhuan. In almost every generation, they had someone in a position of power. The Mi family had a near monopoly on Tianhuan's materials business and was extremely wealthy. Due to this, the Mi family wanted to kill Mo Cloud C more than everyone else. In these years, as Mo Cloud C had risen, the Mi family's business had suffered greatly. Mi Nan was influential within Tianhuan. He was 68 this year, at the prime of his life. The battalion he led was the strongest battalion of Tianhuan, the only battalion with Tianhuan in the name, the Heaven Fate Hoop. Nan was extremely skilled and a group of able people gathered around him. He could be considered the sect major power inside Tianhuan. The biggest faction in Tianhuan was, of course, the Tianhuan's sect leader's faction. The sect leader was peaceful in personality but fair in his conduct. Everyone respected him. Adding on that he had the support of the chief elder, a supreme existence. Behind him, no one dared to oppose him. Mu Shuang was one of the 10 great battle generals, but the faction behind him was not as strong as Minan's. Mu Shuang was usually concerned with battles, and didn't have any interest in the affairs of the sect. Gongya Xiaorong had influence among the disciples. While he was not as respected as he had been before he had been defeated by Gong Sun Cha, he was still respected for struggling and returning from the deadly situation. So when Mu Shuang and Gongya Xiaorong were united in opposition, their voices could not be ignored. The two sides fought fiercely. Minan's side thought that Xixian would not dare to harm Li Xian'er. Li Xian'er would be a hostage but not in danger. If she could complete Tianhuan's alliance with Xixian, Tianhuan would be in an undefeatable position. Otherwise, with Mo Cloud C competing with them in forging, and being weaker offensively than Kunlun, Tianhuan's future was in danger. The opposition claimed that Tianhuan had not reached the point that it needed to send a core member of the sect, like Li Xian'er, to act as hostage. It would be good to eliminate Mo Cloud C, but there was no need to pay such a great price. Also, they thought that Tianhuan was stronger than Mo Cloud C and they should not fear competing with Mo Cloud C. Like right now, when Tianhuan moved, they had the upper hand. In terms of overall strength, Mo Cloud C wasn't on the same level as Tianhuan. The two sides fought. Because it was concerning his granddaughter, the sect leader could not express an opinion. The chief elder who could make the decision was resting with his eyes closed in silence. Suddenly, Li Xian'er stepped out and said calmly, "I am willing to go." The hall immediately quieted. Gongya Xiaorong's expression was panicked. He was about to speak when Li Xian'er gave him a comforting expression. "I'm willing to go. Actually, everyone knows that the risk is not high. Also, even if there is risk, I still think we should agree to Xixian's demand. Because Mo Cloud C was more dangerous than Xixian and filled with more life." Li Xian'er's beautiful face was as calm as water. Her usual mischievousness had disappeared, and her voice echoed in the hall. "I've seen Zui Mao, I have interacted with them, I know how strong they are. An opponent like this should not be underestimated. This kind of chance is rare. If we can grab it, we can eliminate a great problem forever. Also, do not forget about Kunlun. We all know that we are a level below Kunlun in terms of offensive power. If we and Kunlun are the only ones left, the ones to fall in the end will be us." The hall was silent. Everyone was stunned by Li Xian'er's words. Nan, Mu Shuang, and Gongya Xiaorong did not have good expressions. What Li Xian'er was saying were things that people usually discussed in secret, but no one had ever talked about it publicly. What is our advantage? Money. We are richer than Kunlun. This is our greatest weapon. We should spread our money to buy and recruit other factions. We need allies. If we have to fight against Kunlun, we need allies. Xixian is the most suitable ally. They have vast territory and a great population. Once Zhongda is eliminated, there will not be any person in control with any real power. They can only rely on us. We will provide them with Shen equipment, with all kinds of fluff. They can outfit enough battalions to help us fight against Kunlun. An enormous amount of cannon fodder. This is what Tianhuan needs. Also, Mo Cloud C's existence will only weaken us. We have to fight them for materials, for market share. This will make Tianhuan poor. Without money, we cannot recruit other factions. We will lose our greatest weapon, we will be in danger. Li Xian'er's words were firm. Chief Elder opened his eyes at this time and showed admiration. He slowly said, "All of you do not think as clearly as a little girl. After returning from this mission, you will become the next sect leader." The Chief Elder announced his decision. Chapter 815 Yang Yuanhao's Dilemma. Zhou Mo was very surprised when he received the message. Zhong De sent a message inquiring about the Shen equipment and also sent along a large shipment of materials. This message did not mention Tianhuan at all but expressed Zhong De's thoughts. Zhong De had not agreed to Tianhuan. Zhou Mo had to say that he was very shocked when he received the news. He really could not think of why Zhong De had chosen him. Even the stupidest person could see that the benefits of choosing Tianhuan were far greater than choosing Mo Cloud C. But Zhong De made an unexpected choice. Zhou Mo thought hard about why Zhong De had made this choice, but after thinking for a long time, he could not think of anything. After asking Pu Yao and confirming that Mo Cloud C had received a shipment of materials from Xixian, Zhou Mo's anxiety finally settled. While he did not know what Zhong De was thinking, but it appeared that Zhong De had refused Tianhuan. Zhong De's refusal of Tianhuan was the best news that Zhou Mo had heard in recent days. Zhou Mo threw away his puzzlement and started to consider the effects of Zhong De's unexpected choice on Mo Cloud C. Zhong De was the true holder of power in Xixian. His refusal of Tianhuan meant that Tianhuan's strategic intentions were destroyed. Mo Cloud C's situation was not as bad as it was previously. But had the danger been resolved? Zhou Mo had to admit that Tianhuan's moves had hit Mo Cloud C in their weakness. He could feel it. How could Tianhuan not feel it? Tianhuan's scheme only had one obstacle: Zhong De. Zhou Mo put himself in Tianhuan's position and thought, if it was him, what would he do? Go around Zhong De? Impossible. Zhong De was in control of Xixian at the moment and could not be skirted around. If Zhong De could not be avoided, there was only one solution: eliminate Zhong De. Eliminating Zhong De would be eliminating the only obstacle. Zhong De was a great battle general and heavily protected. How could he be eliminated? Send an army? Zhou Mo shook his head. The price was too high to start a war with the second-ranked battle general and was famed for his viciousness and bloodthirstiness. If Tianhuan was not dumb, they would definitely not do such a thing. Then there was only one choice: assassination. Zhou Mo was startled, his eyes suddenly widening. It definitely would be an assassination. Tianhuan had top experts, and from the information he obtained, the sect leader of Xixian clearly was in agreement to ally with Tianhuan and would likely act as a spy. Zhong De was in danger. Zhou Mo's heart beat wildly. Yang Yuanhao had not had a good rest in the past few days. This was very rare for him. His calm and steadiness were his most outstanding traits. He understood himself. No matter what kind of battle it was, he could maintain his calm and stability. The choices he made would never surpass the limits of his ability. He never tried to do anything outside of his abilities. He was always measured and unhurried. It was as though nothing could disturb his peace of mind. His strategic vision was not as good as Xue Dong, he was not as decisive as Zhong De, not as experienced as Mi Nan, not as sharp as Gong Sun Cha, and compared to Bihan, his explosiveness was lacking. Of the 10 great battle generals, the one that did not have any unique trait was Yang Yuanhao. He seemed to not have any trait that was outstanding, yet he could always win. His fighting style was just so. All of his skills were strangely equal, and none were better than any other. Of course, being as well-rounded to such a degree was special in itself. He was the only one. However, only people that studied Yang Yuanhao's fighting methods would understand his terrifying nature. What was scariest about Yang Yuanhao was that he would always make the appropriate choice at the appropriate time. These choices may not be the best, but they would not be bad. Countless choices formed countless small advantages that would accumulate and, in the end, turn into victory. Yang Yuanhao's victories would cause other people to feel hopeless. People that were trapped would not detect when they had started to lose. Steadiness, a hope-robbing steadiness. He almost didn't have a weakness. But such a calm and steady mind was thrown into chaos by Zhou Mo's words. What should he do? He could not disguise his disappointment with the present state of the 9 great Diana sects. While he knew that this alliance would have a short honeymoon, but he was still disappointed when this day came so quickly. Zhou Mo's words caused some things he did not want to face to surface in front of him. This was really a dislikable person. He could not refute Zhuomo's words. Both Kun Luan and Tian Huan would definitely welcome him. No matter if it was because of the 9 great Diana sects or himself who was the 5th-ranking battle general. But he also knew that if he sided with Kun Luan or Tian Huan, he could receive good treatment but would definitely be unable to enter the inner circles of the 2 sections. Kun Luan and Tian Huan were full of talent, and their inner competition was fierce enough. If he, an outsider, tried to squeeze in, he would be unanimously rejected. The best result would be leading his battalion to guard a base that was not important and live an idle life. The worst-case result would be that he and the 9 great Diana sects would be turned into cannon fodder and sent into the battlefields with the most fighting. None of these were things that he wanted. For any battle general, a chance to fight all kinds of factions like right now was a rare chance. Who did not want to accomplish something? Also, Yang Yuanhao had the ability. As to cannon fodder, no one was willing to be cannon fodder. Yang Yuanhao was not dumb. He naturally understood Zhuomo's intentions of recruiting him. Based on the situation, Mo Cloud C was actually the most suitable. Mo Cloud C had only been founded for a short time. They did not have any well-established local powers. Zhuo himself was a reliable person. Also, Mo Cloud C was strong but had a small territory. They would definitely expand. This way, he did not need to worry that there would be no wars to fight. However, Mo Cloud C's situation was dangerous right now. If they were the least bit careless, they would lose it all. Joining Mo Cloud C at this time meant that he needed to take on this danger as well. The future was unknown. Even if he was willing to take on the risk, other people may not. He was not Zhongde, one person who could decide the fate of all of Xixian. He had power, but the one in charge of Thunder Sound Temple was still the sect leader. Would sect leader be willing to ally with Mo Cloud C right now? He shook his head. Everyone would want to avoid at this time. He decided to go and ask the sect leader. When Yang Yuanhao saw the sect leader, he did not conceal any of his thoughts and reported everything to the sect leader. After the sect leader heard this, he closed his eyes and remained silent. Yang Yuanhao was silent. He knew that sect leader was thinking. If Tian Huan succeeds, what do you think the result is? The sect leader opened his eyes and asked Yang Yuanhao. Yang Yuanhao thought and said, if Tian Huan succeeds, Mo Cloud C will be danger. They will be surrounded and attacked on 3 sides. Mo Cloud C's territory is not connected to them, the sect leader said coolly. Yang Yuanhao stilled and his expression changed slightly. Then they will first get rid of us. How does our Thunder Sound Temple compare to Kun Luan and Tian Huan? The sect leader asked. As weak as a baby, Yang Yuanhao responded. In other words, even if we join Tian Huan and Kun Luan, we are not needed and unimportant, the sect leader seemed to say to himself. Yes. While he did not want to admit it, Yang Yuanhao knew that this was the truth. How do we compare to Mo Cloud C? The sect leader asked. We are greatly inferior. Yang Yuanhao's response was honest. How much? The sect leader asked. Yang Yuanhao struggled with this question. After thinking, he said, them 10, us 3. After a while, he thought and then added, them 10, we 2. The sect leader did not care and asked directly, if Lotus Sutra Temple is added? Them 10, us 3. In other words, if we join them, our importance is only 3 out of 13. The sect leader asked, what if we join Tian Huan and Kunlun? What is our importance? Not even 1 in 13. Yang Yuanhao understood what the sect leader meant but couldn't resist saying, however, Mo Cloud C is in danger and can be destroyed at any time. Is it better to give coal in the winter, or give gold to gild the lily? The sect leader asked. But, is there really not a solution? The sect leader said cryptically. Your mind is better than ours, think hard. Does Mo Cloud C really not have a solution? If we are added, is there still no chance to turn this around? Think, who, like us, is not willing to see Mo Cloud C fall? Yang Yuanhao was stunned where he stood, only one sentence in his mind. Was there really no solution? Zhuo was never someone that waited around for others to decide his fate. Ever since he thought of the possibility that Tian Huan would attempt to assassinate Zhongde, Mo and the others moved. Undoubtedly, there was nothing else at this time that was more important than protecting Zhongde. Zhongde's Abyss Jail Battalion was powerful and his protection would not be a problem. However, there was a great problem. He lacked true top experts. This was usually not a problem, but if there was someone on the inside helping his enemies, Zhongde's safety would be questionable. Mo's group did not dawdle at all. They traveled day and night at their fastest sped towards Tianhuan. They needed to get to Zhongde before the experts of Tianhuan. If Zhongde did not die, Tianhuan's strategic aim would not be realized. Then this danger to Mo Cloud Sea was not something that could not be overcome. If they then retreated for 2 years, then they would have enough power to solve all of these problems. Mo Cloud Sea did not lack Ling farmers. The unique formation Ling fields of Mo Cloud Sea would be able to be spread used across their territories. The new 44 jie they took was enough to satisfy Mo Cloud Sea's demand for materials. After 2 years, their situation would be resolved on its own. But everything was based on the fact that Zhongde would live until then. Only a living Zhongde could stop Tianhuan. For safety, Mo did not split up his subordinates. The people he took on his journey this time were almost all of the high-level fighting forces in Mo Cloud Sea. He had enough confidence to fight against the experts of Tianhuan. This would be an unprecedentedly hard battle. The two sides fighting all had reasons that they needed to complete. Chapter 816. The change among the Yao. It was hard to detect the secret battle between Tianhuan and Mo Cloud Sea if one did not pay attention. All of the Xiuzhou world was in turbulence, yet on the surface, it appeared peaceful. At this time, the internal conflict of the Yao Council of Elders attracted the attention of the world. The cause of the matter was because of a speech that the youngest inner council member, Ming Yuyi, had made at a Yao art house. Ming Yuyi had given a fervent speech, criticizing the present Yao for their relaxed attitude. She used all kinds of examples to illustrate the terrible lives of the Yao Jie that had ended up in the hands of the Xiuzhou. When the speech was broadcast, all of the Yao realm was moved. In the war there were victories and defeats between Yao and Xiuzhou. But overall, the Xiuzhou had held the upper hand. There were many Yao Jies who had been conquered, but up until now, no one had mentioned recovering these lost territories. The Council of Elders seemed to have forgotten them. Until Ming Yuyi pointed to this scar. For the Yao, the successive losses had been a humiliating and painful memory. Under the strong suppression of the Council of Elders, the full impact of these realities had been forgotten. Soon, the news that the Council of Elders had voluntarily given up these jie from the start, and their strategy of accumulating personal armies to guard their own territories was leaked. The populace was filled with fury. They could not imagine that the great majority of Yao Jie which had fallen had been voluntarily surrendered by the Council of Elders. Even now, the Council of Elders did not proactively try to take back the lost territories. What kind of Council of Elders was this? At a time when many clans had been forced to move due to the calamities of war, these people only wanted to protect their kinsmen, their wealth, and did not care for the life and death of the people that had been conquered. No one could accept this cruel reality. The people used all kinds of methods to express their fury, especially those intermediate and small families. Being the first group to be abandoned, they started to move and team up. Almost all of the Yao art houses stopped classes. The young and spirited youths were almost unanimously opposed the Council of Elders. All of the Yao were pulled into an unprecedented whirlpool. Facing all kinds of accusations, the Council of Elders remained oddly silent. All the major families also maintained their silence. The major families were connected intimately with the Council of Elders. They were beneficiaries, so they helped the Council of Elders suppress the chaos occurring locally. A tragedy occurred. At a protest event, the battalion responsible for the local public safety had a conflict with the petitioners. 76 people were killed. When this event occurred, all of the Yao were shocked. Even the slowest person realized that a bigger storm was about to come. When Corps Commander Bing Lan stood up and said the Yao should take back the lost Yao Jie, no matter if it was for the Yao that were living there or to make up for past mistakes, it had to be done. This was the first time the military were expressing their opinion publicly. In reality, the conflict between the military and the Council of Elders had been brewing for a long time. The military had always been discontent with the Council of Elders' conservative and defensive strategy, especially those young battle generals that hoped the Yao could also participate in this fight for the world. The Council of Elders' constant and continuous concessions to the Xiaojia made them feel uncomfortable. Soon after Corps Commander Bing Lan spoke out, other Corps commanders followed suit and spoke out in support of taking back lost territories. Some battle generals even mocked the Council of Elders for being useless. They thought that Yao battle generals were not any bit inferior to Xiaojia battle generals. The Council of Elders were afraid without even fighting. This was distrusting the abilities of the military, and it also showed that the Council of Elders had not adjusted to this era of great change. Past debts and grudges were brought out. The complete annihilation of Ice Frost Corps occurred under Kun Lun's ambush, yet the Council of Elders seemed to have forgotten this. More details were uncovered. The only surviving battle general of Ice Frost Corps, the hero Liang Wei, who had been honored in the past, had been relieved of his duties and sent back home. The reason for this was that Liang Wei had desired to fight and take revenge for Ice Frost Corps. The one who had relieved Liang Wei of his duties was Corps Commander Ensure. Corps Commander Ensure was coincidentally a supporter of the chief elder of the Council of Elders. The Council of Elders received another great blow. The words of the military became the catalyst of this storm. The Yao world was about to change. The change among the Yao attracted the gaze of the world. Before this, the Yao had been thought of the most united faction. The Xiaojia world had been split into the four-realm heaven, the Mo into even more factions. Only the Yao had the Council of Elders that ruled over vast lands. While many people criticized the Yao for not having any ambitions to improve, no one dared to look at them. The Council of Elders had once been seen as a strong existence that would fight Kun Lun and Tian Huan for the world. However, the actions of the Council of Elders had caused people to lower their expectations of the Yao. In terms of Shen power, if it wasn't for Ming Yuyi, no one knew when the Council of Elders would have created the Yao Shen power. When Ming Yuyi found the method to merge Shen power and spiritual consciousness, she unexpectedly resisted opposition on the council and publicized the basic method. Countless clans benefited. This earned Ming Yuyi a great reputation. Supposedly, the chief elder had been shocked and angry at Ming Yuyi's actions. For a long time, Elder Ming Yuyi had been suppressed. The other reason the Council of Elders was not favored was because of battle generals. The Xiaojia world was full of battle generals, and the Mo territories did not lack them. For both the Xiaojia and the Yao, their top battle generals were very young. However, the Yao were weak in this area. Most of their corps commanders had been promoted based on their experience. It was rare to see young people at the corps commander level. The promotion and use of young battle generals had always been heavily obstructed. And Elder Ming Yuyi, who liked to use young battle generals, received the support of young generation of battle generals. Elder Ming Yuyi daringly promoted Mu Shi to become corps commander, and this filled countless young battle generals with hope. Mu Shi had become the youngest corps commander of the Yao and attracted attention. There was not a lot of conflict over Mu Zai's promotion. Mu Zai's battle with Gongye Xiaorong had increased her fame and propelled her to become one of the top Yao battle generals. In reality, she had become the idol of countless young battle generals. She was the first Yao battle general that had fought with a top Xiaojia battle general and won. What was interesting was the clan behind Mu Shi. Palace Lakewood clan was not a small clan. This clan had a long history and was famed for being able to make correct choices. Its unexpected support of Ming Yuyi caused her prospects to rise. Yet how could the fraction represented by the chief elder just give up? Conflicts started to occur locally. Tragedies started to occur. The leaders of the protesters died quietly in their homes, being assassinated on the street, elders being ambushed. Public safety was continuously worsening. Everyone was in danger. The intelligence on the Yao was the easiest to obtain, for Zhua Mo Pu Yao's network was unimaginably strong in this area, and all kinds of intelligence gathered like streams into rivers. After Pu Yao's organization of the details, the entire frame of the matter became clear. On the road to Shixian, Zhuo Mo learned everything that was happening to the Yao. This woman is so strong. Zhuo Mo could not help but sigh. He knew from their last meeting that Ming Yuyi was not a friendly person, but seeing her manipulations like this, he could not help but sigh in shock. It was clear that this entire string of events had been orchestrated by Ming Yuyi in secret. Zhuo Mo understood Ming Yuyi's intentions. Ming Yuyi wanted to use this method to break out of the endless stalemate for power. He had seen before that Ming Yuyi's ambitions would not be small. But he hadn't thought that her ambitions were so great. Ming Yuyi clearly was not willing to slowly wait to be handed power. She clearly could not wait. And the reason that she couldn't was because she saw that these next few years were the most crucial time for fighting for the world. If this kept on getting delayed, the Yao would most likely have not much to do with this fight. Kun Luan and Tian Huan were becoming stronger by the day, Mo Cloud Sea and Gu Liangdao was prospering, the Nether King of the Mo had conquered the entire Nether realm, the Mo Shen Temple was becoming stronger while weaker powers were being constantly destroyed. What was left were the strongest factions. Battle generals were growing and maturing through these battles. This caused Ming Yuyi, who had hopes of vying for the world, to feel great pressure. The old age of their battle generals, the inactivity of the Council of Elders, their attitudes of enjoyment. If everything proceeded normally, she probably would only be able to take power in about a decade. Everyone, including the chief elder, were in unspoken agreement that she was the successor. But she could not wait for so long. Such a vicious, decisive, and ambitious woman. Zhuo Mo knew there would be a great cleansing after a short yet intense full-out battle between the two sides. Such an ambitious woman like Ming Yuyi would not be able to tolerate the existence of a restraint. She had the upper hand now. The majority of the military were on her side, the young people were on her side, morality was on her side, fame was on her side, and the so-called righteousness was on her side as well. After a period of cleansing, the Yao would be greatly impacted, but they would be reborn and become a terrifying opponent. And its leader was such a powerful woman. A thought could not be suppressed from coming out of Zhuo Mo's mind. This woman had to be stopped. If she united the Yao once more. Zhuo Mo saw the similarities to Kun Luan on those fanatical Yao, a zealotry similar to Kun Luan. The appearance of a new Kun Luan, how terrifying would that be? The appearance of a new Kun Luan. A light suddenly flashed through Zhuo Mo's mind. Who was the most afraid of a new Kun Luan? Not Mo Cloud Sea, not Tian Huan, it was Kun Luan. Kun Luan was the most afraid of a fanatical and united a faction like them forming. No one knew better than Kun Luan themselves just how terrifying a power like them was, especially when both sides had large amounts of territory bordering each other. A strong Yao would directly threaten Kun Luan. The one that had conquered the majority of Yao territories had been Kun Luan. It seemed that he had to find some things for Kun Luan to do. Zhuo Mo knew that right now, all of Kun Luan was focusing on this secret battle between Tian Huan and Cloud Moc. Zhuo Mo felt that Kun Luan would be happy to see Tian Huan kill Mo Cloud Sea. Kun Luan, how could he let them just watch from the side? While everyone else was so busy, a devious smirk floated at the corner of Zhuo Mo's lips. Chapter 817, Zhong Des Mad Idea. Soon, all kinds of news about the Yao spread in the Xiuzhou world. Ming Yuyi was described as the strongest woman in Yao history. Her actions won her countless praises, and she was thought of as the only hope of the Yao prospering again. The power struggle among the Yao immediately became the topic that the people in the Xiuzhou world discussed over tea. However, for sects like Kun Luan, what they saw was not just limited to this. Kun Luan had actually received related intelligence long ago. Yet the information they had received before had not been so detailed. At the start, they had thought that this was just a normal power struggle. But as more detailed information appeared, their wariness of Ming Yuyi quickly increased. If Ming Yuyi could truly succeed, then the Yao would become even stronger and would be a great threat to Kun Luan. Once Kun Luan realized this, they could not sit still. As the strongest in the world, Kunlun had always thought of the world as their future territory. The Yao ruled by Ming Yi was not something that was beneficial for Kunlun. The abilities that Ming Yi showed caused Kunlun to believe that if the Yao really came under her leadership, they would quickly transform to become a rival top faction. The present Yao, in Kunlun's eyes, was only a paper tiger. Their threat was smaller than Mo Cloud Sea. This could be seen from the battalions stationed at the borders. The battalions stationed at the border of the Yao were not elite. But the Yao had such a strong foundation. It had always maintained its method of rule through the Council of Elders and never had significant infighting. The accumulation and foundations built over thousands of years was astounding. They were not strong now because the higher ranks lacked ambition. Once someone like Ming Yi took power, then the power the Yao would display would be terrifying. At that time, the threat that Kunlun needed to face would increase drastically. They could not sit and watch such a thing occur. While the higher-ups in Kunlun concluded this, the information had come so suddenly there definitely had been people manipulation this from the shadows. But even though they knew someone else was behind this, Kunlun had to respond. Of all the factions, the one with the most territory bordering the Yao was Kunlun. This was an open conspiracy. But Kunlun's hand was forced. Small group of Kunlun's elite started to move towards the Yao. At the same time, the secret envoy to meet up with the chief elder also moved. Kunlun decided to give chief elder their support. A divided Yao council that was fighting among themselves was one that Kunlun was happy to see. Mo threw this problem to one side. For him, the state of the world was something for an overlord like Kunlun to think about. The urgent problem was to face Tianhuan's attacks. They disguised themselves, traveling day and night, and finally arrived at Xixian. On the way, Mo had sent a message to Zhongde. Mo finally sighed in relief when he saw Zhongde with his own eyes. Before he reached the enemies still had a chance. Now, unless all of the top experts of Kunlun came, they had no chance to assassinate Zhongde in front of him. When Zhongde saw Mo, he was not surprised. His expression was calm. "I thought that you would arrive soon." Mo was shocked but immediately recovered his calm. "Why has Mr. Zhong refused Tianhuan?" Zhongde did not respond. He suddenly said gravely, "Other than Pei, everyone else out?" No one in the military council made a sound. They all silently left with solemn expressions. Only a youth next to Zhongde did not move. Mo knew that this person must be the Pei that Zhongde mentioned. It seemed that this was the second in command of the Abyss Jail Battalion. Mo couldn't resist but examine Pei. Pei was not very old, about 28 or so. He was tall, had cold features, and his face was covered in crisscrossing scars. It could be seen that his original appearance had been very handsome. He stood expressionlessly behind Zhongde like a statue. From beginning to end, he did not move. Seeing everyone else leave, Zhongde finally spoke. But when he did, Mo was given a fright. Xixian is already beyond cure. Zhongde seemed to be describing something he was not concerned about. His expression did not change at all. Even with 10 more years, Xixian cannot be saved. Mo hadn't thought that Zhongde had such a depressing outlook on Xixian. He was puzzled. While Xixian has many problems, they have the foundation. With time, there may be a chance. No chance? Zhongde shook his head. Xixian is rotten to the core. They have been ruined for decades, there is no cure. They had stopped training young talents for a long time. I searched all of Xixian and there is none that can be used. To catch up on a few decades is not so simple. If this was a time of peace and there are no outside threats, 10 years, 20 years, then maybe there would be a chance. Didn't Tianhuan promise 10 years? Mo asked curiously. Zhongde's thoughts were actually not very different from what Mo and the others thought. The training of the younger disciples could not be completed in 1 or 2 years. Without 10 to 20 years, there was no real effect to be seen. Xixian's lack of talent was caused because it had not placed importance on training young disciples for the past few decades. A cold sneer appeared on Zhongde's scar-covered face. Would Tianhuan sincerely want Xixian to grow strong? In their eyes, Xixian is just a great cannon fodder. They will think of all the ways they can for Xixian to be first to use up Kunlun's strength. Then they will benefit from standing by the side. The present Tianhuan is much stronger than Xixian. Once you are eliminated, Tianhuan will be even stronger. Under Tianhuan's control, Xixian doesn't have a chance of fighting back. Zueremo was not persuaded because the present Xixian did not have a chance. In comparison, allying with Tianhuan was more beneficial for Xixian. He didn't believe that Zhongde did not see this. But why had Zhongde said so much? Zhongde seemed to know that these words could not persuade Zuemo. His eyes were half-lidded as he said lightly, "I plan to give Xixian to Gu Liangdao." Zuemo shook in surprise and then understood. So this was why. All of his confusion was resolved. When he had learned that Zhongde only had 3 years to live, Zuemo and the others had speculated who Zhongde would choose as the successor. The most likely was the present sect leader of Xixian. The present sect leader of Xixian wasn't just the legitimate choice. He had also been the one to invite Zhongde to come back into the world. Once Zhongde passed away, if there were no accidents, he would undoubtedly take power again. Zuemo had once thought that Zhongde would try to find Gu Liangdao and he had tried to connect the two. However, Gu Liangdao seemed to have completely given up on Xixian. He hadn't thought that even in this situation, Zhongde still planned to give Xixian to Gu Liangdao. Was Zhongde so disappointed with the sect leader of Xixian? The biggest obstacle to Gu Liangdao taking Xixian was the Xixian's traditional faction led by the sect leader. When Zhongde had first came back, he had once made a great cleansing of Xixian's ranks. At that time, blood had flowed in rivers. Under the knife, the Xixian's traditional faction had suffered great losses and had to bow their heads. They had leaned towards siding with Zhongde, but Zhongde had ignored them, so they had sided with the sect leader of Xixian. Only the sect leader speaking up had prevented their deaths. He hadn't thought that Zhongde's butcher knife was only delayed and waiting here. Zuemo knew that once Zhongde decided to give Xixian to Gu Liangdao, he would definitely get rid of all obstacles for Gu Liangdao. This time, Zhongde would probably remove the sect leader of Xixian as well. Big Brother Gu agreed? Zuemo suppressed his shock and asked. In his view, Big Brother Gu had his own thoughts, and would not be easily persuaded. Zhongde was still expressionless. But he will agree. Zueremo didn't believe it, but he saw that Zhongde was very certain, as though he had a way to make Gu Liangdao agree. Zueremo still didn't quite understand why Zhongde would choose Gu Liangdao. What he needed to consider now was what changes would occur if Xixian was given to Gu Liangdao. Open the Jie map, Zhongde suddenly said to Shipei. Shipei expressionlessly opened the Jie map of Xixian. On the map, a red line separated Xixian in two. I plan to give this part to you. Zhongde's words were astounding. Zueremo wasn't just stunned but completely speechless. Was something wrong with this guy's head? This area was almost 1/3 of Xixian and contained some important Jie. But after the initial shock, Zueremo looked closely. Zhongde might be mad, but he was a person who was very goal-oriented. He seemed mad, but he definitely had his own goals. Eliminating stray thoughts, Zueremo saw some things. This area was not small, but they were all areas bordering Tianhuan. Once Zueremo took these Jie, then Xixian would not be threatened by Tianhuan at all. Their only worry was their border with Kunlun. But after close inspection, Zueremo had to sigh at Zhongde's skill. There was a natural defensive Jie at the connection to Kunlun. If there was an elite battalion stationed there, they could block Kunlun with little risk. After cutting off their flesh, Xixian would be rid of a great burden. The area they had to defend would shrink greatly, and their resources could be concentrated. And if it really was Gu Liangdao that took power, Zueremo believed that Kunlun would not be able to break through Gu Liangdao's defense. This way, Xixian's torn-up defense line would immediately become impenetrable, and their pressure would decrease greatly. Zhongde was terrifying. Standing in front of the Jie map, Zueremo was motionless and deep in thought. Zhongde closed his eyes in silence. He had to admit that the lure that Zhongde threw out was too tempting. The present Emo Cloud Sea was only 113 IE, and the area that Zhongde had drawn out was 3 times bigger than Mo Cloud C. If they could get this area, then the problem of Mo Cloud C's supply of materials could almost be all resolved by themselves. This vast area contained rich or mines. If they were developed properly, Mo Cloud C's strength would expand. The small size of their territory had become the bottleneck stopping Mo Cloud C from going a step further. In these past 6 years, Mo Cloud C had secretly trained middle management talent for their expansion strategy. Due to this, there were no problems in terms of manpower. Mo Cloud C had the ability to take these jie in a short time. But after swallowing this fat piece of meat, the drawbacks were also very clear. Once they took over this area, the long border would increase the pressure on Mo Cloud C. Right now, Mo Cloud C was a hedgehog with almost no weakness. Any person that attacked would leave bloodied. This meant that Mo Cloud C only needed to maintain a few elite battalions and not enormous numbers of normal battalions. Such a long border, and it was Tianhuan. This meant that they needed to station large numbers of battalions to deal with the threat of Tianhuan. Zhuo Mo's expression shifted and wavered. Chapter 818 Hidden Trump Card Mist Tribe. Ever since Lan returned to the tribe, the Mist people found to their shock that their cultivation speed had suddenly multiplied. In this region of the Mist Sea, there didn't seem to be any beasts that could threaten them. After a transportation formation between the main tribe and the Cloud Island was opened, it was easy to travel outside the Mist Sea. The Mist people gradually stepped out of the Cloud Sea and started to interact with the outside world. The young Mist people entered schools, learning all kinds of interesting knowledge. The great majority of them entered the Battle General School, and the most accomplished among them as Bingyu. Bingyu, who had once cried Mist people tears, had unexpectedly chose the Battle General School. The calm and composed demeanor that defined the Mist people had led her to have outstanding results in the Battle General School. She became one of the top-ranked among the young battle generals of Mo Cloud C. Gong Sun Cha, who managed the Battle General School, was full of praise for her. Information flowed into this isolated tribe. The Mist tribe changed constantly. Many of the products of the Mist tribe were in demand outside. High-grade cloud mist was a good material to make nimbus clouds, and the use of high-grade ice crystals were even more widespread. Only the Mist people had the ability to travel deep into the Cloud Sea to collect these two materials. The Mist tribe quickly became wealthy, and under Lan's direction, the tribe leader Bing Yao made a trip to the Cloud Island to find Zhuo Mo in hopes that Zhuo Mo could help them forge a batch of Shen equipment suited for the Mist people. They were willing to pay all the expenses. This batch of Shen equipment was called the Mo Mist Shen equipment. The Mist tribe became even stronger. As their living standards increased, the number of new births among the Mist people increased greatly as well. The prosperity of the tribe caused the leader, Bing Yao's mouth be stretched in a smile every day. A great amount of Lan's power had recovered. As the tribe's lives got better, the tribe's belief in Lan grew even stronger. The resolute belief constantly repaired Lan's damaged body. Lan's body was completely renewed as the bones of the body were healed. The now complete set of bones had become ice crystal-like with a faint blue. If one looked closely, they would find that there were layers of tiny scripts in the light ice crystals. There were thousands of layers of these scripts. Lan had spent a whole 7 years in the deepest part of the Cloud Sea, absorbing countless ice mist crystals to strengthen this body. It was finally finished. Lan was slightly emotional. For totems, time was just a concept, but there was still a sense of urgency for the tribe. The Mist People tribe was not strong. Even though the development of the tribe had been good recently, and they had grown in population, they were still a small tribe. As the totem of the tribe, Lan paid more attention to the outside world more than anyone in the tribe. The tens of thousands of years allowed him to see through the mists. The Mist People tribe was too minuscule, even in Mo Cloud Sea. In the entire world, they were even more insignificant. Lan knew that no other faction would be like Zhuo Mo and give them such good benefits with their power. But if he wanted the tribe to receive more living space, better investment in development, they had to contribute their power to immortality and become a more important part of immortality. It had been Lan's order for Bingyu to enter the Battle General School. It was a pity that the Mist People were too few in number. Otherwise, they could form a Mist People battalion and fight for immortality. In this era, there was nothing more valuable than service. However, Lan had started to prepare all this. Once those young Mist People who entered the Battle General Schools grew up, once the tribe had more people, the Mist People would be able to create a Mist People battalion. One day. But until that day, all of the duties of the tribe, all the merit they needed to earn, Lan was the only person who could do it. This was the responsibility that fell on Lan's shoulders as the totem warrior of the tribe. Also, Zhua Mo and Mo Cloud C did not seem to be in a good situation recently. Lan thought about Gong Suncha's request. After thinking, he immediately made a decision. A thought covered all of the tribe. A thought spread in ripples. All of the Mist People unconsciously stopped what they were doing. Shock flashed across their faces and then they unhesitatingly sprinted towards the Shun Temple. Countless figures flashed through the sky. Everyone had grave expressions and were silent. Moments later, everyone in the tribe had gathered outside the Shun Temple. The tribe leader, Bing Yao, stood at the very front with an expression of barely hidden excitement. "Open the restricted land." An authoritative and cold voice sounded from inside the Shun Temple into the ears of every Mist person. The Mist People present all shook. Shock and excitement rose on their grave faces. The restricted land. The Mist People's restricted land, a territory they had guarded for more than 10,000 years. It was about to be opened. A blinding blue light suddenly flew out of the Shun Temple and shot towards the restricted land. Moments later, the ground trembled and boomed, the ice mist in the air clinking and rattling. The Mist People were prostrated on the ground with devout expressions. Lan floated in the air above the Shun Temple. The figure was just a skeleton, but the authoritative presence shrouded the entire region. Countless hair-thin rays of blue light appeared in the restricted land and flew towards Lan in the air. Lan did not look at them and slowly floated down to the ground. The moment that Lan's feet touched the ground, the blue energies wrapped onto the skeletal body. Starting from the feet, something began to take form. Lan did not seem to feel it and slowly stepped forward. With every step, the endless blue energies took form. They formed combat boots, greaves, joints. The blue energy started from the toes, and then pushed up and grew along the armor as it materialized. When Lan walked to the front of the crowd, an exquisite battle armor covered in patterns took form. The battle armor covered all of Lan. The ice blue battle armor seemed to be made from layers of ice crystals and was so breathtakingly beautiful. What shocked everyone was that the battle armor was slender and curved. It was a female warrior's battle armor. Lan was actually a female totem warrior. The blue energy did not stop and continued to take form above Lan's head. An icy blue and transparent umbrella appeared in Lan's hand. The handle of the umbrella seemed to be carved from ice. The ribs of the umbrella were deep blue. There were 18 ice crystals tied with long blue tassels that dangled from the edge of the umbrella and clinked harmoniously as they swayed. Wearing battle armor, holding an ice umbrella, Lan seemed to have stepped out of a portrait. After sleeping for 10,000 years, you and I are able to once again fighting side by side. The voice spoke from behind the mask. All of the Mist People were overcome with excitement. The older Mist People cried. Everyone recognized the figure in front of them. That legend that was worshipped in their Shin Temple, the tale that was told to every generation of Mist People, the legendary guardian protector of the Mist tribe, the strongest totem warrior in the Mist People tribal's history. No one knew her name, but every Mist person could recognize her. Bing Yao's tears streamed down his face. The god of the Mist People, you have never abandoned your clan. As though she could hear the shout in Bing Yao's mind, a clear icy voice sounded by everyone's ears as through it came from the ancient era. I, Lan, the totem of mist, worshipped by the Mist People for generations, swear if my soul and body is not deceased, will not dishonor the name of totem and protect the Mist People. Mo Cloud C. Gong Sun Cha walked out of the transportation formation and stepped onto this nondescript cloud island. The cloud island was about 200 mu and was a pitifully small island in Mo Cloud Sea. There were no seal formations or jinji on this little island that was covered in fauna. There was no need for any jinji because living here was a top-level Shun power expert. How come you are here? The old many looked at Gong Sun Cha with surprise and then realized, you encountered trouble? Ever since he was reunited with Agui, he had decided to stay at Mo Cloud Sea. He liked peace, so he found an unpopulated cloud island for himself. Other than going to see Agui occasionally, he spent all of his time on the island. Yes? Gong Sun Cha did not tarry and said briskly, I have come to ask Mr. to fight. Who? The old man's eyes widened. Tianhuan. Gong Sun Cha responded, Oh, I heard you are in a sorry state. I was saying, just letting people beat on you and not retaliating, that's not that boy's style. The old man smacked his lips. Gong Sun Cha had a small smile but did not speak. He could hear the old man's exasperation. Agui was faithfully loyal to Zuemo, and no matter how much the old man did not like Zuemo, he couldn't do a thing. The old many snorted coldly and showed his missing and yellowed teeth. He said to himself, I need to show the brat what a true Shun power expert is. All of Mo Cloud Sea started to move at high speed. This was the first time Mo Cloud Sea was moving with other factions. Their allies this time was the elite of Gu Liang Dao's faction led by Shuangyu. Gong Sun Cha had been planning their counterattack on Tianhuan all this time. However, sending a battalion could not change a secret war. Also, they could not rely on guerrilla warfare because Zuemo had taken too many experts with him. So when Gu Liang Dao contacted Gong Sun Cha became alert. If Gu Liang Dao and Mo Cloud Sea were allied together, they could deal with the problem of experts. Shuangyu was a top expert. Adding on the old man, the forces could not be dismissed. But Gong Sun Cha did not rashly attack. He knew that there was only one chance for a surprise gambit like this. If they attacked and alerted the enemy, there would not be a chance like this again in the future. He started to design a detailed plan. In order to have greater effect, he used all of Mo Cloud Sea's intelligence network. In order to increase their military force, Gong Sun Cha even sent a request for reinforcement from the Mist People tribe. The good news was that Nan Yu's group had finished their mission and returned. Qinghua Shui and Xieshan also came out of seclusion almost at the same time. Gong Sun Cha sighed in relief. The manpower was enough to support this battle plan. When Lan appeared, Gong Sun Cha was also stunned where he stood. Then he was overjoyed and his confidence increased. He had never thought that Lan would participate. Lan's attention-catching actions caused Gong Sun Cha to immediately know her strength, a top Shun power expert. Shuangyu, who had secretly traveled to Mo Cloud Sea, was left mouth gaped with eyes wide. Mo Cloud Sea had a hidden top-level Shun power expert. The familiar vibrations from Lan's ice blue battle armor caused Shuangyu to realize this was a Shun device raiment. Mo Cloud Sea had a secret top-level Shun power expert with a Shun device raiment. For the first time, Shuangyu had the feeling that Mo Cloud Sea was unfathomable. Then, Shuangyu believed that their mission this time would succeed. Even they hadn't known that Mo Cloud Sea had hidden such a trump card. Tianhuan was going to be out of luck. Chapter 819, Struggles. Mo stared at the Jia map in front of him with bloodshot eyes. He had been staring motionlessly at the Jia map for almost 6 hours. Shixian was a little over 800 Jia and 1/3 of that was 200 and almost 300 Jia. How big was Mo Cloud Sea? 113 Jia. If they could take down all this, Mo Cloud Sea could expand to almost 400 Jia. This number was about to almost 2/3 of the 9 Great Diana Sect's total territories. But that long and tattered border would cause Mo Cloud Sea's defense to become a big problem. Zhongde was slightly surprised. He had originally thought that when something so great and free was handed to him, Zuemo would excitedly agree without hesitation. He hadn't thought that while Zhuemo was excited, he did not immediately agree. A territory of almost 300 jie, yet someone would hesitate for 6 hours. Zhongde re-evaluated Zhuemo. He had not underestimated Mo Cloud C, he actually had a high opinion of Mo Cloud C. Mo Cloud C was the ally that Zhongde chose for Gu Liangdao. Putting aside Gu Liangdao's good friendship with Zhuemo, Mo Cloud C's strength was what he thought highly of. He had other deeper considerations for giving almost 1/3 of Xixian to Mo Cloud C. Mo Cloud C was stronger than Gu Liangdao, much stronger. The two would be neighbors. If they were to be allies, they needed to be of similar strength. However, Mo Cloud C had a firmer foundation. Once they digested the 300 jie, they would become even stronger. Mo Cloud C that was too strong was not beneficial for a developing Xixian. In Zhongde's view, Gu Liangdao was strong, but he clearly was not at the same level as Zhuemo. This could be seen from the comparison of the two's forces. Of Gu Liangdao's force, other than himself, only Shuangyu and Xiao were acceptable. They lacked talents. But Mo Cloud C, Wei Xing, Gong Sun Cha, Bi Han, Zhong Ru, a list of names that could blind and awe people. Even someone with such a resolute mind as Zhongde was not willing to become enemies against them. The long border would drag Mo Cloud C into a tedious and difficult struggle with Tianhuan and slow Mo Cloud C's development. Only when the two sides were in balance could a long-lasting alliance form. 10 years. Zhongde estimated that Xixian would need 10 years under Gu Liangdao in order to recover. If there was not a titan like Tianhuan, Zhongde thought that Mo Cloud C would only need 5 years to become a new titan of the same level as Kunlun and Tianhuan. Zhongde felt that he had not underestimated Zhuemo, but at this time, he found that he had still underestimated Zhuemo's foresight. The guy who was said to be peerlessly greedy and only thought of profit was able to maintain his calm in the face of almost 300 jie. Such a terrifying person. Zhongde suddenly suspected whether or not his decision was correct. Could Gu Liangdao really fight against such a monster? Could he really fight against such a monstrous faction? But then he grimaced. Other than Gu Liangdao, he did not have a better choice. Gu Liangdao was the most outstanding young person from Xixian's lineage. He understood the present sect leader. If he gave Xixian to the sect leader, the end of the 10-year agreement would be the time that Xixian would die. Zhongde's heart was like rock. After wavering slightly, he recovered. A pair of eyes that flashed with excitement and madness entered his field of view. His heart suddenly shuddered, but his expression did not change. "What have you decided?" Zhuemo looked closely at Zhongde's eyes and said in a deep voice, "I also want this piece." His finger flicked and a curving streak of light appeared on the jie map. A region about 30 jie was outlined at the lower right corner of the area that Zhongde had proposed. Zhongde's pupils suddenly contracted. After Zhongde came out of his seclusion, he had studied repeatedly. As the second-ranking battle general of the 10 top battle generals, Zhongde was bloodthirsty and savage, but he was unusually wary in his attitude towards war. No one knew how many times he had studied this jie map. Every detail of this jie map had been imprinted into his mind long ago. Without any effort, it could be redrawn completely in his mind. This area where Tianhuan and Xixian borders were shared was a long and flat wedge between Xixian and the 9 great Diana sects. It was a complex place where 3 factions intersected. Back in the time when Xian Kong Temple existed, the 3 factions had been restrained by the balance between the 3 forces. That area had become an area that none of the 3 factions could dominate. Due to this, large numbers of small but complex factions existed there. The fall of Xian Kong Temple and the rise of the 9 great Diana sect caused them to quickly consume these little factions to form this strange area. On the 30 jie that Zhuemo drew included the area where Xixian and the 9 great Diana sects shared borders. If Zhongde still did not know Zhuemo's intentions now, then his reputation as the second-best battle general was false. 9 great Diana sects. Mo Cloud C had a close relationship with the 9 great Diana sects, closer than expected. Zhongde sighed inside. He knew that his intentions of using Tianhuan to restrain Mo Cloud C had failed. Zhuo intentions in demanding these 30 jie were clear. The territory connected to the 9 Great Diana sects, and he would open a passage between Cloud MOC and the 9 Great Diana sections. This way, Tianhuan's wedge territory would be facing enemies on 2 fronts. Mo Cloud C's battalions could attack by traveling through the territory of the 9 Great Sects and easily detour behind Tianhuan to attack. Mo Cloud C that possessed Gongsun Cha and Bihan could easily cleave this wedge-shaped territory from Tianhuan's flesh and bring it under Mo Cloud C's control. The border between Mo Cloud C and Tianhuan would drastically shorten. Zhongde was now in a dilemma. With Mo Cloud C's strength, the possibility they would succeed was a high. That way, rather than restraining Mo Cloud C, it was giving Mo Cloud C a great opportunity. But without Mo Cloud C, Gu Liangdao who took over Xixian would not be able to survive. He only had 2 years left. After 2 years, Xixian would only have one top battle general left, Gu Liangdao. In Zhongde's view, Gu Liangdao had good skill but he was too honest, and was not intimidating enough. Zhongde was able to protect Xixian by himself. No one dared to invade. Even Kunlun and Tianhuan did not dare to easily start a war. This was because he was ruthless and bloodthirsty. There was only one result of fighting against him: blood flowing in rivers. In this time where multiple factions were facing off, no one dared to be damaged so much. What is your decision? Zhuo's tone was just like Zhongde's had been previously. Zhongde knew that the other saw through his intentions. However, he did not care. Power struggles would always exist between factions and had nothing to do with friendships. He was a decisive person and said, "Then I'll give you this region as well." His finger swiped, and he drew out another 20 jie at the border of the 30 jie that's what Mo had just circled. Allying with Mo Cloud C was an essential condition to the survival of Xixian. Zhongde did not have a choice. His hand was forced in the matter. Zhuo looked for a while and saw some things. Zhongde seemed to have casually picked out 20 jie. He seemed to have lost a big part of territory for nothing, but in truth, he had drastically decreased the border between Xixian and Mo Cloud C. Zhuo was full of admiration towards Zhongde. As expected of the second-best battle general, Zhongde was so calm to the point of cruelty. He did not linger or hesitate over territory. He did not care for reputation or tradition. For his strategic aims, he could give up everything else. Such a terrifying person. But these 20 jie were free for Mo Cloud C. Zhuo knew that Zhongde was near the end of his life and knew that Zhongde was also making a path for Gu Liangdao. Zhuo did not worry about Gu Liangdao's Xixian. This had nothing to do with friendship, it was a judgment of the situation. The reason that Zhongde was so generous was because he knew Gu Liangdao would not be able to protect an enormous Xixian alone. Actually, Zhuo was slightly worried. Even the smaller Xixian was more than 500 jie. All of 9 Great Diana sects was just a little more than 600 jie. Looking at the present situation Yang Yuan Hao was in would show just how hard it was to manage such a large territory. Gu Liangdao's path was harder than his own. Agreed. Zhuo said solemnly. He was full of spirit. Mo Cloud C's era of being in its turtle shell was about to finally finish. Good. Zhongde nodded expressionlessly. He then said, Tianhuan's people have arrived. Zhuo's attention was immediately moved. Zhongde was the crux of everything. For Xixian. For Mo Cloud C. His safety the most important. They came slightly earlier than you. Li Xian'er was escorted to the Abyss Fiend jail. A hint of coldness flashed through Zhongde's eyes. Let's go see Tianhuan's future. Finishing, he walked outside. Zhuo was lightly shocked. He knew Li Xian'er's status in Tianhuan. He asked in puzzlement, why would Tianhuan send Li Xian'er? Hostage. Zhongde said coldly. Otherwise, the sect leader would not dare to act out this plan. The sect leader is too stupid. I've guarded the Abyss Fiend jail for decades. How can I not have any safeguards? Tianhuan came carefully and my people did not detect them. The sect leader was in too much of a hurry to send Li Xian'er to the Abyss Fiend jail. Mo heard that while Zhong De said sect leader, there was no respect in his tone. He is devious and has great patience, Zhong De said coolly, but is not decisive or confident enough. His desire for power is too great. Mo was filled with curiosity, but he did not want to be dragged into Xixian's matters. He perceptively did not ask. The group followed Zhong De towards the Abyss Fiend jail. In order not to attract attention, they did not fly, but walked along the walls. Suddenly, Wei Sheng stopped walking and his gaze focused. Mo motioned for everyone to stop. Mo and the others were in sync and spread out, ready to fight. Shi Pei next to Zhong De stepped forward to protect him. The other guards were on their guard. Wei Sheng's expression was at ease and unaffected. The god-killing blood sword slowly rose. Everywhere Wei Sheng passed, there seemed to be a black and bottomless abyss. Wei Sheng's eyes became like bloody glass, but his expression did not change. Kill! A thunderous shout and the rock wall in front of them suddenly shattered and rained down on them. Wei Sheng's sword drew out. A blood-red sword energy entered the shattered energies. The sword energy that entered the shattered stone seemed to be hit by something incoming and suddenly gave off bright white light. The blinding light immediately consumed the group. Everyone's sight became filled with white. They could not see a thing, and the surrounding presences were in chaos. Sharp murderousness filled the air. Mo didn't know what this white light was. Under the white light, he could not see a thing. What was strangest was the white light could disrupt the consciousness. Mo's consciousness that was spread out was crushed by the light. The enemy did not seem to be affected. 8 different murderous presences locked onto him and caused his skin to tremble. Yet Mo reacted quickly and his expression changed. Fishing in muddy waters. The other's target was Zhong De. Damn it. At this time, a muffled grunt came from the white light. Mo's heart suddenly sank. It was Shi Pei. Chapter 820 Trap. A layer of complex shadowed scripts appeared over Mi's eyes. The strong white light was filtered by the shadow script, protecting his eyes. He could clearly see every detail. Mi Wu of the Mi family was the most talented member of his generation. He had talent that was to be admired, and he did not waste his talent. From childhood, he worked hard. As one of the great families of Tianhuan, the Mi family naturally raised him in a good environment. The Mi family was overjoyed to have produced such a genius. Even the top battle general of Tianhuan, Mi Nan, paid attention to him. The Mi family's teachings, his own hard work, and outstanding talent combined to create a stunningly skilled youth. Of the top experts in Tianhuan, the most famous were the 4 seats and the 12 rings. The 4 seats were the first 4 disciples of Tianhuan: Li Xian, Mi Wu, Sang Dong, Jin Shao Yi. Under every seat were 3 ring masters. Each ring master controlled an elite force. The 4 seats and the 12 rings represented the highest combat force of Tianhuan, especially the 4-seated disciples. These 4 seats were the genius youths that Tianhuan had trained over the past few years. They were even stronger than the elders of the previous generation. If Chief Elder was said to be a supreme existence in Tianhuan, then the 4 seats ranked just below the sect leader, Mi Nan and Mu Shuang. Li Xian would become the future sect leader, and the other 3 members would become prominent elders of Tianhuan. Mi's fighting method was unpredictable like his name, like the ancient shamans. He had a quiet and thoughtful personality. While he was from a prestigious clan, he did not have excessive pride. His pure white robe was untouched by dust. The blinding white light was Tianhuan's secret, silver light flashbang. It did not have any offensive power, but it could blind people with its almost unimaginable brightness. Even if one had Shen power, they would not be able to avoid its effects. The most terrifying effect was that it could cause all of the energies in the area to become chaotic. The seal scripts on Mi's eyes allowed him to avoid the effects the silver light. Zhong De. Mi's pupils contracted slightly as he cast the Shen methodology. The Shen glyph on his hand lit up slightly. Suddenly, the Shen glyph on his palm seemed to come alive. It became 3-dimensional and spun. 6 imperceptible lights suddenly flew out of the energetically spinning Shen glyphs. They were like 6 nimble snakes that silently flew towards Zhongde. Mi Wu had absolute confidence in this mission because all of Tianhuan put great importance on this mission. 3 of the 4 seats had come. Other than Li Xian'er who had come to be the hostage, there was Mi Wu and Jin Xiaoyi. Other than this, there were also other experts and 4 ring masters. The composition of their team was so grand that Mi Wu felt there was no reason they would not succeed. Jin Xiaoyi's Shen glyph flowed. Little arrows floated in a dense group next to him. Every little arrow was made from Shen glyphs was astounding in power. These little arrows vibrated minutely and murderousness filled the battlefield. Everyone's attention was attracted by these murderous little arrows. Zhongde did not have any strong experts with him. There were no experts of their level in Xixian. If they could find Zhongde and avoid the defense of the battalion, the possibility they would succeed was high. Creating chaos, Jin Xiaoyu and the other people would attract the attention of the enemy and Mi Wu would deliver the fatal blow. This was their strategy. Shi Pei's expression changed dramatically. He advanced rather than retreating, a ball of bloody energy forming in his hand that he threw forward. A Shun glyph hit the bloody energy. The Shun glyph suddenly lit up with a strange light. In a blink, the blood energy was completely absorbed. The Shun glyph turned into an eerie bloody glyph. It trembled and then continued to shoot at Zhongde. Shi Pei grunted and flew out as though he had been hit with a hammer. Mi Wu was unaffected. The other was just a battle general and was insignificant compared to a top expert like him. The 6 Shen glyph snakes were locked onto Zhongde. Without any more obstacles, they shot in front of Zhongde. Mi Wu's heart finally stirred. Zhongde was going to die. Just as he thought Zhongde would die to the 6 Shen glyph snakes, a withered hand appeared without warning in front of Zhongde. A thin Diana Xiao with closed eyes appeared in front of Zhongde out of thin air. His withered hand was like a fragile flower. Impossible! Mi Wu's eyes widened as he looked in disbelief at the scene occurring in front of him. No one could see under this silver light flashbang. Even they themselves were helpless if they did not prepare beforehand. Even Diana Xiao could not do it. The consciousness was useless. Who was this person? Mi Wu's heart suddenly sank. How could there be such a strong expert around Zhongde? Their intelligence was faulty. The hand formed a seal and 6 gray sutra characters flew out of Zhong Ru's hands to face the 6 Shen glyph snakes. The sutra characters encountered the Shen glyph snakes and exploded like smoke. The gray mist shrouded the Shen glyph snakes. The Shen glyph snakes were covered in a layer of gray. Mi Wu's expression changed slightly. Wish power. Such strong wish power. The left half of his body started to feel slightly numb. An ugly gray mark appeared on his left shoulder. Was this a survivor of Xian Kong Temple? The 9 great Diana sects did not have such a strong Diana Xiao. Countless thoughts flashed through his mind. He did not dare to slack off. The Shen glyph in his hands spinning urgently as his Shen power surged. Pew! His left shoulder suddenly exploded, and the gray mark was destroyed. The terrifying feeling of numbness finally disappeared. All this happened in flash, yet the amount of Shen power used surpassed his predictions. Mi Wu's expression became grave. He could detect that the other was just as strong as any of the 3 ring masters under his command. Adding on the unpredictable and eerie Shen power, this was a troublesome person. However, the other was delusional to think that they could stop him with just this strength. Mi Wu brimmed with murderousness. But when his gaze focused on a 3-flanged Diana staff on the other's hand which had suddenly appeared, his expression froze on his face. This vibration. Shen device. Jin Xiaoyu was acting as planned. Every little arrow was vibrating violently as though they were hungry and hornets waiting to move and consume. The sword essence just now made him feel a sliver of fear, but he quickly recovered. He was just slightly puzzled. Did Zhongde have someone powerful hidden away? But he knew his duty. What he needed to do was distract the attention of the enemy and create chances for Mi Wu. He was very successful. He was so successful that he poked the hornet's nest. Mo and the others who had been blinded due to this silver light flashbang suddenly felt ferocious murderousness. Without even thinking, they threw out attacks in the direction of the source. Mo's hand swiped and the sun axe appeared in his hand. He ignored the white nothingness he saw and threw in the direction of the murderousness with a loud shout. Almost at the same time, Wei Sheng and Luo Li attacked. Jin Xiaoyu felt a great sense of danger. He paled and didn't dare to think carefully. The little arrows around him rained on the group. He did not look at his results. He put all his power into retreating. Boom! An enormous explosion sounded behind him, and then a wave of air as tangible as a wall hit his body. He reacted quickly. Shin glyphs lit up over his body. He was like an untethered dry leaf that was thrown outwards with the wave of air. Inside, Jin Xiaoyu's mind was in uproar, his limbs cold. If he hadn't escaped quickly from the attack just now. Ambush. This was an ambush. He was in the air at present and could see the scene under him. His heart continued to sink. The 4 ringmasters were also engaged. One was fighting with a bird, another with a dark gold Mo puppet. The third had an even stranger opponent. It was a little person dressed in black that was smaller than a hand. But the one that was in the worst state had a female opponent. This female's figure was unpredictable and ethereal. She did not give any signs of attack, and completely dominated this ringmaster. Jin Xiaoyu almost didn't believe his eyes. How could so many experts pop up? What group of freaks was this? If he had just a guess before this, he was sure now that this was a planned-out trap. When he saw the appearances of Mo and Wei Sheng, his face paled. Mo Cloud C. No wonder there were so many experts. It was Mo Cloud C. Jin Xiaoyu was decisive. The Shin glyph at his forehead flashed and his panicked voice sounded in everyone else's minds at the same time. Retreat. It is Mo Cloud C. This is a trap. Everyone's expression immediately changed. Mo Cloud C. Ever since Tianhuan targeted as Mo Cloud C as their greatest enemy, their spying of Mo Cloud C. They gradually learned the power of Mo Cloud C. If one had to say what part of Mo Cloud C gave the strongest impression, it was not forging, not wealth, not their turtle-like Jinji, but that list of names that could not be dismissed. That list was one that even a titan like Tianhuan was jealous of. They had so much talent that it was incomprehensible. That tiny place had so many strong people. It was a gathering of monsters. When Mi Wu heard Jin Xiaoyu shout in his mind, he finally remembered who this emaciated Diana Xiu was. Zhongru, the strongest Diana Xiu of Mo Cloud C, the one who caused an apparition to appear when he came out of seclusion, Zhongru. No one knew how strong Zhongru was. Mi Wu now had some understanding after the fight today. Zhongru should be stronger than the ringmasters but a step below the 4 seats. However, Mi Wu stared at the 3 manifestation treasure staff in Zhongru's hand with red eyes. When was a child of the Mi family ever jealous of other people's equipment because it was better than theirs? Born in luxury, for the first time, Mi Wu felt he was poor. He could clearly feel the power of this Diana staff. Even if it was not a Shin device, it was not far off. Mi's heart bled. He was furious and sad. Zhongru was not among the top-ranked experts of Mo Cloud C, yet even he could have a Diana staff of this level. Was Mo Cloud C rich to such a level? With the 3 manifestation treasure staff, Zhongru's strength was increased greatly. The difference between the 2 smaller. With the staff, Zhongru was able to keep him engaged, unable to retreat. Heart dripping blood, Miwu took a deep look at Zhongru. The Shun glyph on his body flashed and he disappeared. Jin Xiaoyu and Mi's thoughts of retreating were correct. But sometimes, knowing the right action was not enough. You're tuning into the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.